Welcome back, everybody. It's Saturday night. Welcome to Creepy, Unexplained, and Scary Saturday Nights. Tonight, guys, we're going to be looking into the Annunaki. Who and what are they? Boy, oh boy, it is a strange situation for sure. So I hope you're here for it. I appreciate you all joining me tonight and joining all of us, guys. Please, 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 if you will. Thank you for joining me and Chucky, I should say. Make sure to hit that like button when you come through that door, guys, if you will. And please share this out. Let everybody know what weird and creepy crap we're doing in here tonight. That being said, here we go. Here we go. All right. Welcome back, all you paranormal people. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. It's been a while since we've been able to do this stuff, so here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Great to have you guys back at the cafe with me tonight. I hope you're all having a great weekend, and I appreciate you so much for joining us. Please hit the like button as you come through the door, and please share this out and let everybody know what we're doing in here. If you would, if you will, if you could, because you should. You know it, you know it. Thank you guys so much for being here again. Um, like I said, I'm looking forward to this. It's been a while. I've been talking about this for God months. It's been a couple months. This Anunnaki. What and who in the hell are they? And what are they all about? What is it? What are they? I don't know. Um, we'll find out, though. We definitely will find out. I have a bunch of stuff here. Molly has sent me some things. This is Molly's cup of tea here, guys. Cup of tea, cup of coffee, cup of Kool-Aid, cup of pop, whatever it is. This is Molly's thing. Miss Cassie brought this to my attention a few months back here. Sassy Cassie, for those of you that aren't familiar, said we should look into this. So I'm a big, big paranormal fan. For those of you that aren't familiar, for those of you that are, you know. So thank you for joining my co-host Chucky and I. As we do what we do on our creepy, unexplained, and scary Saturday night. Good way to end the week, in my opinion. um, you can laugh whenever you want to laugh. Anybody can laugh about laughing at anything. If you laugh at it, it's laughing. It is what it is. I don't care. Who do we have joining us tonight, guys? 26 people in the house, 19 likes. Thank you, guys, so much for joining me. It looks like our Doodlebug in the house. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us, Doodle. Miss Zelda's in the house celebrating her 2-year Dagoversary. Thank you, Miss Zelda, for being here with us for so long. We do appreciate you. Of course, Mark Schumann, thank you for being here as well. Tandy Powell's in the house. Good to see you tonight, Miss Tandy. Miss Stormy, welcome back to you. Don't dox me in the house. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Jody Walters, welcome back to you. Great to see you as well. Let's see here. But Randy B, the OG's in the house. Welcome back, Brandy. Good to have you here tonight. Miss Kat K, welcome back. Good to see you, dear. It's been a while. Paula Fitzhenry, great to see you tonight, dear. Thank you for joining us. Peggy Bradenbaugh, welcome back to you as well. Let me see here. Hold on a minute. Stephen with SW Collectibles and Music live streaming. Good to see you tonight, brother. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you all so very much. Don't dock me. Butterfly Kisses in the house. Welcome, Butterfly. Good to see you tonight. Phil is in the house. And what's happening, Phil? Good to see you. Captain Jenks, welcome back, brother. Good to see you. Dandy's in the house. Welcome back, Dandy. Great to see you tonight. And again, there it is. Miss Zelda celebrating her 24-month, 2-year Digoversary. Love you, Zelda. Thank you so much for joining us and being part of this family, this community. I do appreciate you so very much. Doodlebug is saying hello to everybody. Thank you. Blue Crew for being here. Let's see. Who else do we have here in the house? Maybe a good golly, Miss Molly. There she is. This is Miss Molly's cup of tea. Thank you for being here, Molly. I appreciate you, dear, very much. Thank you for joining us. I think I got just about everybody here. Captain Jenks says, boo. Welcome, Cap. Great to see you tonight. And everybody else in here, guys, please again make sure to hit that like button. 27 people, 20 likes. You guys can do better than that. See if you can make that match, guys. Thank you so very much. Welcome, Miss Barb. Thank you for being in here with Timmy's Legacy. Great to see you, Barb. I heard you had a long day today. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're feeling okay, Barb. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you so much, dear. Let's see, who else do we have? Detective Barbara's in the house. Yes. Great having you here, Barb. I hope you had a great day, ma'am. You and Doodle had busy days today. I bet you. I know you did. So, or no, Barb's was yesterday. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I hope you're doing better from yesterday, Barb. That's what I was trying to say. So sorry. I get my days mixed up and everything. Yes, I know. That's a really nice picture of you, Molly. I love that avatar. Doodle had the busy day today. That's what it was. Newman 25 TC. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining us tonight. Don't mind me, guys. I get confused all the time. It's just my brain. It doesn't work all the time. So, all right, guys, come on in, get a seat. I have to grab some. I'll be right back with you, and we will get this You know, I just remembered something. I didn't get to let you guys. I didn't introduce you guys to my scary Saturday co-host. You guys. I guess I should let him have a couple words with you. That would only be fair, I would think. Let's see what we got here.
Wish you're mine now, doll. Now sit back and learn from the master.
What do you got to say?
First thing we got to do is get me out of this body once and for all.
What'd you say?
True classic never goes out of style. I'll be back. I always come back.
Well, you talk a lot of shit, don't you, buddy?
You know who I am. And if you know what's good for you, you are going to love, honor, and obey.
Whatever you say, brother. You
got your wish. You're mine now, doll.
All right.
Sit back and learn from the master.
Are you done now? Jeez. This dude. Good Lord. Never shuts his mouth, you guys. I give him one night and he's got to take everything. You know, what the hell? Oh, it is what it is. Good evening, Miss Cassie. I don't know. Yeah, I know, Doodle. I know. Could you guys hear him? Is he coming through the microphone? I don't know. He is rude, isn't he, Doodle? So rude. Just sit down, be quiet, and relax. Chill out, bro. It's okay. Ah, see? He's even throwing things at me. What do you think, guys? Welcome, Swamp Rose. Good to see you tonight. It is wonderful to have you here tonight. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a great night. Be safe out there if you're out on the roads. Jeez. Anyway, so yes, welcome, guys. Me and my my co-host, Mr. Chucky here. Yeah, he's a little. Well, he's got this little plastic thing. He thinks it's gonna do something. It's okay. I got something for you, Chucky. Just sit still, be quiet, and deal with it. He'll be all right. Good to see you, Miss Cassie. Swamp Rose. Everybody, good to see you. I don't know. Could you guys hear him through the microphone, or was he not loud enough? I know I hear him all the time. He never shuts up. So just saying. The good thing I didn't bring his girlfriend Tiffany down here because she's even worse. She's got a big mouth too. He wouldn't let her come down. He told her stay upstairs. It's just me and him tonight. So good to hear, Doodle. Good to hear. Moonlit baby in the house. Good to see you tonight. Cassie says, we went to Tri-Cities and ate at 5 Gays. Came home and I crashed on the couch. I bet you did. Well, you made it back just in time. He is very disrespectful, Tandy. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand he's smaller than me, that I have the power. He thinks he's got the power, but, you know, it is what it is. He'll learn sooner or later. No big deal. Let's see. I don't think I missed anybody. 29 peeps in the house. 23 likes, you guys. A rock and roll. Thank you for that. Yeah, well, he's not much for loving, Cassie. You know that much, so. Thank you, Doodle. There, guys, is Swamp Rose. There's her link right there. If you haven't gone over there, please jump over there. Click on that link. Check it out. Show some love and support, guys. You won't be disappointed. Truly, it's entertaining, as you can imagine. And hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss nothing. Share it out. We appreciate you being here, Swamp. Great to have everybody here tonight. I really appreciate you guys so very much. And there again, guys, another great channel that will kind of lean towards a lot of what we're talking about tonight is Miss Molly Drake's channel. Molly's another one of my amazing producers. She does some really cool stuff, guys. Very talented. So please lean on over there. Check it out. Subscribe to her channel if you have not done it. Hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss nothing she puts out. If you're into any form of paranormal whatsoever, that's a place to be. So go check it out, guys. Thank you so very much. Yes, she does amazing music. Molly did the intro to my morning show and to the regular show that I have. She's done my intro and outros, guys. She's really good at that stuff. So please check it out if you will. You will not be disappointed. I'm trying to get her to put something together for our whole paranormal thing here because I'm not very good. You saw what I did. My intro was caca, so it is what it is. There's this. Phil says, "Well, hello there, Swamp Rose. So nice to have you here." Dago's gonna Annunaki your socks. Phil, I swear to God, love you, Phil. Hilarious, hilarious. Doodle says, "Poo poo, yay yay." Make it creepy, Molly. Make it creepy. Thank you, dear. Appreciate you. All right, guys. 29 peeps in the house. We need one more to make it even. Get 30 people in here. 24 likes. Let's see if we can make 29 likes to match 29 people. There's Virginia Wolf. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for joining us. Phil is a good lyric writer, too. That's awesome. Come on in, sit down, grab your coffee, tea, whatever it may be. Come on in, guys. Sit down and have a conversation with Chucky and me as we look into the Anunnaki tonight. Does anybody know what the Anunnaki is? If you don't, you're about to find out. Miss Liberty says, hello, Dado. Tell Miss Liberty I said hello, Libby. God, I love that little girl. She's so cute. I'd like to get that recorded into my sounds in here and play that when I can. Hi, Dado. She's so cute, guys. Makes my whole day. Yes, Annunaki. Guys, if you would, please hit that like button if you would be so kind, just like Doodle does. Doodle says you don't want to make her mad. I promise you don't. Long day, Doodle. And God bless for doing what you went out and did today, Doodle. You're amazing. Thank you, Sassy. That would be awesome. I could die hearing it every time I hear it. She's so sweet. Okay, guys. Oh, guys. Oh, guys. I'm excited about this. It's been a minute since we've been here. Let's see here. What do I have here? Hold on a minute, guys. Give me one moment. Thank you so much, Miss Paula. Just trying to make sure I got everybody here. Homeboy's in the house. But sorry, I've been making this itty bitty thingy, huh? Okay. Okay. 32 peeps in the house. 28 likes. We're getting there. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. You are all so very much appreciated for joining us. I'm excited, guys. It's been like 2-3 months, I swear to God, since I've done anything in the paranormal realm for the weekends. It's been a minute, and I'm grateful to be here with it. So thank you again for being here. Let's see what we got. I don't know if anybody knows. I know Molly and Cassie are familiar with this. That sounds good, Tomboy. Send me a picture. Absolutely. Phil says, deserved of everyone's subscriptions and likes. Go sub. We'll wait for you. Thank you, Phil. Very nice of you. Let's see here. Since we're talking about, while we're waiting just a minute here to get this stuff loaded up, has anybody heard this, the theory behind the moon? You know, the moon, our moon that shines brighter every night, that the moon is actually an alien spacecraft. How about that one, you guys? You want to talk about wild and crazy theories? What about that? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if that was true? For all you smokers out there that like to get all philosophical, not you, Phil, philosophical. Can you imagine if that were the truth, though? I like to talk about wild and crazy things, and depending on how long this takes, we might jump into some of that stuff too to go with tonight. We'll see. People said, "Yeah, it has cheese in it." Interesting. Molly said I was going to make a video on that, but I haven't yet. I'm surprised you haven't. That's hilarious, Molly. I love it. Moonlit baby. I can tell, Moonlit baby. And I love your name. I appreciate that you're here too. We love you here. Molly said, "Well, it does ring like a bell. It kind of does. Yes, ma'am." I think Mikey's at a soccer game. Otherwise, he would have been here. But that's okay. Go ahead, Modoodle. All right, Tomboy sent me a picture to show. Let's see what we got here. Oh wow, check that out. Tomboy is a crafter, by the way, guys. She makes all sorts of awesome stuff. Sent me some of it, and I'm telling you what, she's very talented. Check this out. Little tiny little thing she made here is a little bag. That's tiny because it's sitting on her keyboard, so it's like this big. Up, knocked off my stupid microphone again. It's 31 peeps in the house. Great job, Tomboy. That's awesome. I love it. My wife would love that. And it's being that small, it's cute. Let's see. Yeah. The theory that I saw on this thing was that the moon was hollow and it was a spaceship, an alien airship or something. I was like, wow, okay. Whatever you say. Demon Dog, welcome to you, brother. Good to see you tonight. We got some other stuff that we may look at once we get to the Anunnaki stuff. All right, guys, and bear with this. It's very interesting for those of you that can handle that kind of stuff. I love all of this stuff. So let's see which one we're gonna go start with here. I got some good ones too. Mm, 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 mm. Hang on. Oh, good lord, I forgot. Forgot how many I had. One moment here. Okay, 1 sec. All right, guys, let me know how the audio and the video goes. Grab your popcorn and grab your drink. We are.
Prior to the 19th century, it was thought that Genesis of the Old Testament contained the oldest material of literature in the entire known world. In particular, the narratives about the Great Flood and the Tower of Babel. Sometime during the 19th century, archaeologists, in an effort to find the cities mentioned in the Bible, found something completely different and far more fascinating. What they found all over Mesopotamia are cuneiform tablets. Some of these tablets predated the biblical timeline of creation itself, and the contents of these tablets are shocking. In 1961, Samuel Noah Kramer, a Syriologist, translated a text known as Enki in the World Order, which seems to be a textual ancestor to the Tower of Babel story. Here's what it says. Sumer, great mountain, land of heaven and earth, trailing glory, bestowing powers on people from sunrise to sunset. Your powers are superior powers, untouchable, and your heart is complex and inscrutable. Like heaven itself, your good creative force, in which gods too can be born, is beyond reach, giving birth to kings who put on the good diadem, and giving birth to lords who wear the crown on their heads. Your Lord, the honored Lord, sits with Anu, the King of Heaven. Your King, the great mountain, Father Enlil, the father of all the lands, has blocked you impenetrably like a cedar tree. The Anunnaki, the great gods, have taken up dwellings in your midst and consumed their food, Geguna, in your shrines with their single trees. Household Sumer, may your sheepfolds be built and your cattle multiply. May your Geguna touch the skies. May your good temples reach up to heaven. May the Anunnaki determine the destinies in your midst. The mysterious Anunnaki mentioned in that text are described as determining destiny. Who are these mysterious Anunnaki? Are these the Nephilim mentioned in Genesis? Let's find out. Hello, explorers of the ancient world and initiates into the mysteries. Welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, remember to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you won't miss out on our journeys into the fascinating tales of the past. Today, we're embarking on a captivating expedition into the heart of ancient mythology and biblical lore, delving deep into the tales of the enigmatic Anunnaki and the mysterious Nephilim. The Anunnaki, powerful deities from ancient Sumerian mythology, are said to have shaped our world, influenced kings, and controlled the fate of humanity. Their stories have fascinated us, leading to varied interpretations and even some modern controversial conspiracy theories. And then there are the Nephilim, the giants of the Old Testament, the sons of God, fallen angels, mighty warriors, heroes of old, or perhaps all of the above. Their brief but intriguing mention in the Bible have given rise to countless interpretations and debates. Are there connections between these two groups of ancient beings? Were they celestial, terrestrial, or maybe even extraterrestrial? Today, we separate fact from fiction and history from myth, guided by archaeology, linguistics, and the valuable work of countless scholars. So buckle up and join us on this exciting journey.
It could
into
be,
the
Pearl.
realm of the
Thank you for
Anunnaki
joining us. That could
and the
be.
Nephilim. It's time to uncover the secrets of the ancients. Let's dive in. The Anunnaki are a group of deities that appear in the mythological traditions of ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. They are among the earliest pantheons in Mesopotamian mythology. In Sumerian textual corpus, the term Anunnaki often refers to deities in the broadest sense. However, more specifically, it often designates a group of gods associated with the underworld, where they are said to decree the fates of humanity. One of the significant mythological narratives involving the Anunnaki is found in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the world's oldest known works of literature. In the epic, Gilgamesh meets the spirit of his friend Enkidu in the underworld, where the Anunnaki act as judges in the underworld who set laws for the cosmos. Gilgamesh lamented. 7 days and 7 nights he wept for Enkidu, until the worm fastened on him. Only then he gave him up to the earth. For the Anunnaki, the judges had seized him. Tablet 8, Epic of Gilgamesh. Then, in Tablet 9 of the Epic of Gilgamesh, it says, "The sleeping and the dead, how alike are they? They are like a painted death. What is there between the master and the servant, when both have fulfilled their doom? When the Anunnaki, the judges, come together, and Mamitun, the mother of destinies, together they decree the fates of men. Life and death they allot, but the day of death they do not disclose." Finally, in Tablet 11, we get the story of the Great Flood sent by Enlil, which says, "The Anunnaki lifted up the torches, setting the land ablaze with their flare. Stunned shock over Adad's deeds overtook the heavens and turned to blackness all that had been light. The land shattered like a pot. All day long the south wind blew, blowing fast, submerging the mountain in water, overwhelming the people like an attack.
Welcome, Leslie and
No
Billy.
one could see
Wonderful to
his
see you
fellow.
tonight.
They could not recognize each other in the torrent. The gods were frightened by the flood and retreated, ascending to heaven of Anu. The gods were cowering like dogs, crouching by the outer wall. Ishtar shrieked like a woman in childbirth. The sweet-voiced mistress of the gods wailed. The olden days have alas turned to clay, because I said evil things in the assembly of the gods. How could I say evil things in the assembly of the gods, ordering a catastrophe to destroy my people? No sooner have I given birth to my dear people than they'll fill the sea like so many fish." The gods of the Anunnaki were weeping with her. The gods humbly sat weeping, sobbing with grief, their lips burning, parched with thirst. 6 days and 7 nights came the wind and flood, the storm flattening the land. When a 7th day arrived, Utnapishtim sent forth a...
Hold on 1 second, you guys. I just have to correct something. Mama Bear was messing with some stuff yesterday, and I think there was a mistake made. Well, it was not a mistake, but it screwed something up. So anyway, give me 1 second here. Hold on.
Did you hear what I just said? Yes, sir. What did I say? Donate your mushrooms. What are they called?
Okay, I think we're good now. Sorry about that. Get back to where we was. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry for the interruption, everyone. There we go.
dove and released it. The dove went off. I, Utnapishtim, sent forth a dove and released it. The dove went off, but came back to me. No perch was visible, so it circled back to me. I sent forth a swallow and released it. The dove went off, but came back to me. No perch was visible, so it circled back to me. I sent forth a raven and released it. The raven went off, and saw the water slithered back. Now compare that text to the Genesis of Noah and the flood. After 40 days, Noah opened up a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water all over the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. In both cases, Noah and Utnapishtim are told by a god to build an ark, load it with animals, and they both wait an additional 7 days after the flood to send off doves and ravens to check for land.
Thank you for joining us, Paula. Always wonderful to see you.
Now, I bring this up because I think it's possible that the Nephilim in Genesis 6 may very well be influenced by the Anunnaki, the sons of God, who endured the wrath of the king of the gods. But it's not a one-to-one comparison.
I'll be honest, Peggy, this goes beyond the Bible. This brings to the surface the possibility of a terrestrial or extraterrestrial existence that could have been here before we were, that created all of this, possibly. It's very interesting. I know they're talking a lot about the Bible, but don't take it for that, please. I would never do that to you guys on purpose. But if you kind of read between the lines, yeah, that's where it goes with it. It's very, very crazy, weird, interesting.
And I will speak more about the Nephilim later. But let's talk about the Anunnaki first. The Anunnaki have also been connected to the creation of humanity, where they are said to have created humans to serve as laborers for the gods. This particular narrative is found in later Akkadian and Babylonian mythology, especially the Atrahasis, an Akkadian Babylonian epic that recounts the creation of humanity. The story goes that Anunnaki, together with the Igigi, another group of gods, were burdened with the laborious tasks of digging canals and farming land to feed themselves and the other gods. The Igigi, who were doing most of the work, rebelled. As a solution, the god Enki proposed the creation of humans to perform the labor instead. Thus, humans were created from clay and the blood.
Guys, I have a bit of an emergency. I need to stop this for a quick minute here. If you don't mind, 1 second here, guys. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Good Lord. There we go. Nope, hold on. Sorry. We have it. Oh, hold on. I'm going to read this and I'll show you. We have a child abduction emergency. Arkansas State Police, Little Rock, Arkansas, relayed by the National Weather Service of Little Rock, Arkansas at 7:14 p.m. Central Standard Time, Saturday, March 1st of 2025. It is listed as the following message transmitted at the request of the Arkansas State Police. There's an Amber Alert that's been issued for Braden Riley, a black male born on August 9th of 2014. He's 4 foot 2 inches tall, weighs 100 pounds. He has black, low-cut hair and brown eyes. He went missing on March 1st of 2025 at 8:30 a.m. He was last seen in the Wakefield area of Little Rock, which is in Pulaski County. He may be wearing a red shirt, khaki pants, and possible army green jacket. The person he may be traveling with is unknown. If they are traveling, the vehicle is unknown at this time as well. Please, if located, please contact or call the Little Rock Police Department at 501-371-4829. We don't have the actual poster up yet. But this here is a picture of Braden. For those of you that, hold on. There you go. Just a little guy there. So, guys, if you happen to know anything from within this area, if you see, hear, or have any ideas as to this, please contact that number again, which is 501-371-4829. An Amber Alert has been issued for Braden Riley out of Little Rock, guys. Please and thank you for your attention on that. Again, my apologies for interrupting, guys, but when it comes to that kind of stuff, I will stop and interrupt anything.
Blood of a slain god. The Enuma Elish, another Akkadian Babylonian creation epic, tells a similar tale of human creation. In this narrative, the god Marduk, after defeating the primeval goddess Tiamat, creates the world and humans. The Anunnaki, in this context, are considered high-ranking deities in the divine hierarchy. In these stories, the Anunnaki play roles as cosmic legislators, creators, and sometimes intermediaries between humans and the divine. They are integral to the functioning of the cosmos and human society. Unto Kingu hath Tiamat entrusted, in costly raiment she has made him sit, saying, I have uttered thy spell in the assembly of the gods. I have raised thee to power. The dominion over all the gods I have entrusted unto thee. Be exalted, my chosen spouse. May they magnify thy name over all of them, the Anunnaki. Tiamat hath given Kingu the tablets of destiny. On his breast she laid them, saying, Thy command shall not be without avail, and the word of thy mouth shall be established. Enuma Elish, Tablet 3. The mythology of the Anunnaki is complex and spans several ancient cultures, with the earliest accounts coming from the Sumerians. Their stories, like many ancient mythologies, attempt to explain the origin of the world, the nature of the gods, and humanity.
Yeah, Cap. It is leaning more towards another possibility of how the world and humanity was created, as compared to the possibilities that we all have been raised with and we've all grown up with and things like that. You know what I mean? And it leads to, and it gives you a lot of interesting topics that can make you understand that it's really not religion. It's more about creation. So yeah, good point, Cap. Great. Or I'm sorry, Virginia. I don't know why I said Cap. Anyway, great observation, sir.
And the laws that govern existence. In Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki were initially viewed as celestial deities associated with various aspects of life and nature. However, the term Anunnaki gradually came to be associated more specifically with chthonic underworld deities. In Mesopotamian mythology, the term Anunnaki was used to refer to deities in general, but it was mostly associated with the underworld, the realm of the dead. This does not necessarily imply a negative or punitive association. In many ancient cultures, the world was perceived as a multi-tiered structure, often divided into heavens, earth, and underworld. Gods and goddesses were assigned to different realms based on their roles and functions. The Anunnaki are depicted in various myths as judges in the underworld, ruling over the fate of the dead. For instance, the goddess Ereshkigal, the queen of the underworld, and Nergal, the god of death and plague, were both considered part of the Anunnaki. The reason why many of the Anunnaki are associated
Have a great
with the
night,
underworld
Barbara.
is likely related to the Sumerians' belief about life, death, and the afterlife. The underworld, known as Kur or Irkalla, was considered a dreary, dark place where the spirits of the dead existed in a shadowy version of the earthly life, similar to Hades in Greek mythology, sustained by libations and offerings from the living. The Anunnaki, in their role as chthonic deities, were seen as intermediaries between the world of the living and the world of the dead, with the power to judge and rule over souls of deceased humans. The term Anunnaki could include a wide range of deities, reflecting the complex and multifaceted nature of Mesopotamian religious belief. So what about the Nephilim? Why do so many think they're related? The Nephilim are depicted in biblical traditions
Thank you,
as the
Paula.
offspring of the sons of God or fallen angels, and are described as giants. In general, the Anunnaki and the fallen angels who give birth to the Nephilim are separate entities from distinct cultural and religious contexts, Mesopotamian mythology and Hebrew religion, respectively. However, there are some parallels. Both undergo the wrath of God and try to teach humans knowledge. Both the Anunnaki and the fallen angels are seen as powerful beings with the ability to influence humanity. The Anunnaki, as those of royal blood or princely offspring, were considered gods who decreed the fates of humanity. Similarly, fallen angels in certain interpretations are thought to have interacted with humans, sometimes negatively, as misleading spirits, but also in some narratives, teaching humanity various arts and knowledge. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish religious work, ascribes the origins of sin and corruption on earth to a group of angels known as the Watchers, who fell from
Thank you, Swamp
grace
Rose. I
by
appreciate you
mating
being
with
here tonight.
human women and teaching humanity forbidden knowledge. But rather than the Anunnaki, this story shares more elements with the myth of the Apkallu, 7 wise men or demigods in Mesopotamian mythology, who were created by the god Enki to establish culture and give civilizations to mankind. While there are thematic similarities and overlaps, it's essential to recognize that these myths and traditions develop independently with their own cultural and historical context. The connection between the Anunnaki and the fallen angels is not direct in their original mythologies. I would refrain from calling it a one-to-one comparison, but an indirect, passed-down mythology that changes in context of time and region. Both the Anunnaki from Mesopotamian mythology and these fallen angels, or Watchers, from the Book of Enoch, represent supernatural beings who have significant interactions with humanity. In both mythologies, there is a theme of divine or semi-divine beings interacting with humanity, often resulting in significant changes in society. The Anunnaki are said to have had an important role in the creation and early history of humanity, often portrayed as teachers or rulers. In a similar manner, the fallen angels in the Book of Enoch are said to have descended to earth and had children with human women, creating Nephilim, and they also taught humanity various forms of knowledge, some which led to negative consequences. In both mythologies, these interactions can lead to transgressions against the divine order and subsequent punishments. For example, some interpretations of the myth of the Apkallu, the 7 wise demigods, suggest about the last of the Apkallu was considered evil. Berosus the Chaldean mentions these Apkallu long before the discovery of the cuneiform tablets, and he says they are led by a god named Oannes, who was half fish and half man, and taught humanity the creation of the cosmos and how to make fire and weapons. This is reflected in the fallen angels myth of the Watchers teaching humans how to make fire and weapons. The Watchers in the Book of Enoch are portrayed as transgressing divine boundaries by mating with human women and teaching forbidden knowledge, actions which lead to their punishment and the Great Flood. Both sets of beings have a significant impact on human civilization. The Anunnaki were seen as those who decreed the fates and were involved in the establishment of maintenance of civilization. The Watchers, through their transgressions, fundamentally altered the course of human history, bringing about a rise in civilization and its eventual punishment and destruction through the flood. The stories of the Anunnaki from Mesopotamian mythology and the Titans from Greek mythology are distinct and originated from different cultural and historical contexts. However, like the fallen angels, the Greek mythology has some parallels as well, primarily in terms of power dynamics and generational conflicts among deities. Both the Anunnaki and the Titans are often associated with the primordial times. In Mesopotamian mythology, Anunnaki are among the earliest gods, linked with creation of the world and the establishment of civilization, just as the Titans played the same role, as they are replaced by the Olympian gods when Zeus overthrows Kronos, just as the old gods are replaced by the new gods in Mesopotamian mythology. In the mythologies of the Hurrians and Hittites, which flourished in the mid to late 2nd millennium BC, the oldest generation of gods was believed to have been banished by the younger gods to the underworld, where they were ruled by the goddess Lelwani. Hittite scribes identified these deities with the Anunnaki. In ancient Hurrian, the Anunnaki are referred to as Kerulesh, which means former ancient gods, or Katuresh Shuanesh, which means gods of the earth. Hittite and Hurrian treaties were often sworn by the old gods in order to ensure that the oaths would be kept. In one myth, the gods are threatened by the stone giant Ulikumi, so Ea, the later name for Enki, commands the former gods to find the weapon that was used to separate the heavens from the earth. They find it and use it to cut off Ulukumi's feet. Although the names of the Anunnaki in Hurrian and Hittite texts frequently vary, they are always 8 in number. Similarly, in Greek mythology, the Titans are the children of Uranos.
Thank you so
heaven,
much,
and
Zelda.
Gaia, earth, just as the Anunnaki are the children of Anu and Ki, also heaven and earth. In both mythologies, there's a theme of conflict or tension between generations of gods. The Babylonian creation myth, the Enuma Elish,
Welcome, Jules.
tells of how the god Marduk of the younger generation defeats Tiamat, an ancient goddess often associated with the Anunnaki, and becomes the king of the gods. Similarly, in Greek mythology, there's the Titanomachia, a 10-year war where the Olympians, the younger generation of gods, overthrows the Titans, the older generation. Both of these myths relate to the establishment of cosmic order and the allocation of divine roles. After Marduk's victory in the Enuma Elish, he creates the world and assigns roles to the gods. After the Titans' defeat in the Titanomachia, Zeus and his siblings divide the cosmos among themselves and establish their rule over the universe. The mythology of the Anunnaki has indeed influenced later civilizations, most notably Akkadians, Babylonians, Assyrians, as well as the Hittites and the Greeks, all of whom inherited much of Sumer's cultural and religious legacy. These civilizations not only adopted the Anunnaki into their pantheons, but also developed and transformed their myths over time. A prominent example would be Marduk, originally a minor god in the Sumerian pantheon, who was elevated by the Babylonians to the status of chief deity. Marduk is often associated with Anu, the Sumerian sky god, and Enlil, who was initially considered the head of the Sumerian pantheon. The succession of the gods like Zeus, Kronos, and Uranus, seems apparent throughout these cultures. Moreover, the motif of a group of important deities deciding the fates can be seen in many other ancient Near Eastern and Mediterranean mythologies, such as Egyptian, Greek, and Roman pantheons. While it's not a direct one-to-one correspondence, these similarities suggest cultural exchanges and shared archetypal ideas in ancient civilizations. The Nephilim are mentioned briefly in the Hebrew Bible, specifically in the book of Genesis 6 and Numbers 13. Their origins and nature, however, are somewhat cryptic and have been the subject of much debate and speculation. In Genesis, the Nephilim are described as the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of humans. The exact identity of these sons of God is not clear. Interpretations range from fallen angels to descendants of Seth, Adam and Eve's third son, while the daughters of humans are generally thought to refer to mortal women. The Nephilim are said to be the heroes of old, warriors of renown, indicating their extraordinary strength or abilities. They are often depicted as giants, especially in later Jewish or Christian tradition. In the book of Numbers, the term Nephilim, used again when the Israelites send spies into Canaan and they report back. So they brought the Israelites an unfavorable report of the land that they had spied out, saying, "The land that we have gone through as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it are of great size. There we saw the Nephilim." The Anakites come from Nephilim. "And ourselves we seemed like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them." This passage is often interpreted to suggest that the Nephilim were giant beings, but it's also possible that the term here is used more symbolically to describe formidable enemies. The mysterious nature of the Nephilim have led to numerous interpretations and theories. The term Nephilim comes from the
Thank you,
Hebrew
Zelda.
word nephil, which means to fall. Therefore, Nephilim is often translated as the fallen ones. This has led interpretations of the Nephilim as fallen angels or their offspring. However, the word,
Just so everybody understands this, some of this is hard to quite like understand. It's a mythological theory of something that predates what people would consider religious theories and so on and so forth to some extreme or to some extent. I'm sorry. So, and it's all mythological theoretical stuff, and it's very wild the way they put it together, and it does explain certain things that we've never been able to explain. And it's all in my, like I said, it's all mythological based. So, you know, that way everybody can kind of understand as to what the whole basis of it is.
could also be related to the Aramaic word nephil or nephilim,
Thank you
which
again,
means
Zelda.
giants, reflecting the tradition of the Nephilim as giant beings in many later Jewish and Christian texts. The term's ambiguity in the biblical
That's
text,
possible, Virginia.
its rare
Very possible.
use, and the various interpretive traditions
It
have
again, it
led to
depends
many
on how you
different
interpret it,
translations
sir.
and interpretations. It's important to note that while we can make educated guesses based on linguistic and historical context, the precise meaning of Nephilim in the Bible is not definitively known. And even with these parallels, it must also be stressed that the Anunnaki and the Nephilim are a part of two distinctive ancient cultural traditions, Mesopotamian and Hebrew. There isn't a direct connection between the two in their original context. If that was the case, then why wouldn't the Hebrew authors just call them Anunnaki? Why call them Nephilim?
I also read an article about, I've been looking at this stuff for months now since it was brought to my attention. So welcome, Oscar Meyer. Heidi ho. Yes, that's what he always says constantly. Welcome, duty calls. Good to see you. There was an article I read too where some people try to say that this coexisted at the times of biblical times and stuff like that. I don't know about that, but there are a lot of different things about this that I've been reading on. I have a lot of other stuff that Molly has presented that I'll be showing in here in a little while too. It's just so interesting to hear it all, guys. It whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. That's the fun of it. It's just listening to it and understanding what they're saying in it. You know what I mean? It just makes it interesting. So again, thank you so much for joining duty calls and Oscar Meyer. Oh, I got a song for that, by the way. I made the song up the last time you were here, Oscar. Thank you for joining us tonight.
They are separate entities within their respective cultures and religious traditions. The Anunnaki were deities who, in different Mesopotamian cultures, held various roles, from being the high gods of the pantheon to the chthonic underworld deities. On the other hand, the Nephilim, according to the Hebrew Bible, are the offspring of the sons of God
Same here,
and the
Paula.
daughters of humans, often depicted as giants or mighty warriors. The interpretation of the Anunnaki as deities of the ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians is well established in historical and archaeological research. However, in recent years, the Anunnaki have taken on a new life in the realm of pseudo-archaeology, conspiracy theories, and science fiction. For example, the ancient astronaut theory proposed by Zecharia Sitchin in his Earth Chronicles argues that the Anunnaki were actually a race of extraterrestrial beings from the planet Nibiru who visited Earth in search of.
Now I don't know who. Sorry to interrupt again, but I don't know how many of you watch the show Ancient Aliens. Okay, my wife and I watch it all the time, just because we actually kind of go to sleep to it a lot too. The ancient astronauts theory is something that they brought out through the Ancient Aliens. One of the Ancient Aliens stories about the ancient astronauts being, as he's going to explain it, something that I was really interested in this. Based on a lot of the hieroglyphic drawings and stuff that they have found within Egypt and different places written on the walls. It would make some things make sense as to the drawings that we're seeing, because other than that, it doesn't make sense based on technology and the advancement predating what it was predating the advancement of technology, how it would make any sense. And it's like, whoa. So this side of this is really interesting to me. You know what I mean? When I first saw that, I was like, the ancient aliens theory. My wife and I were just both kind of like, wow, So, oh yes, Paul, I've watched both of those. The Curse of Oak Island, I loved it. Alien Rom, I just watched that one not too long ago. Good movies. That good movie and a great show. Okay, I'll shut up now.
Gold over 400,000 years ago. According to Sitchin, these beings genetically engineered Homo sapiens as a worker race to mine gold. Zecharia Sitchin also posits that the Anunnaki were a race of extraterrestrial beings who visited Earth and genetically engineered humans.
For over a half a century, biblical scholar and Near East historian Zecharia Sitchin devoted his life to proving the link between human beings and the Nephilim, giants mentioned in the book of Genesis. Sitchin's research identifies them as ancient aliens known as the Anunnaki, who came.
For those of you that may not know what the giants they keep talking about, they made a very loosely based movie. I don't know if anybody saw. I believe it's called Cabin in the Woods. Okay, there was a movie that came out a few years back called Cabin in the Woods, where there's this log cabin, this old shack that lives out there, that's out there in these woods. These kids go out camping. They run into these like force fields that are around this area, and these giant, like mythological giants that live inside the earth come out at the very end of the movie. That giant hand comes out. They have to be fed certain things. So yeah, not the. I get it confused with the other one where the other movie was the kid. Everybody got sick from the water. There was some kind of toxic stuff in the water or something like that, and they all got this bad disease. Not that one, but the other one. Very, very, very wild and crazy movies. This stuff here, that movie was very loosely based on it. I think it's called Cabin in the Woods. I'll look it up and I'll give you guys exact on that, just so you'll know.
Came to Earth from the planet Nibiru.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's not the one about the virus.
Why do you say
There's another
giants
one.
when
Where it's a government-run program, and they have to feed these giants that live inside the core of the earth. That they keep the earth together and they keep everybody alive. And if they don't feed these giants at certain times, feed people to them, then that's enough. We're done. We're going to destroy this planet, and that's what comes out at the end of it. It's crazy. I think it's called Cabin in the Woods. I'll make sure, because they both have the same name, I think, and I confused both of them, but I'll figure it out for sure, guys.
the word in Hebrew is Nephilim, coming from the root Nephol, which means to come down, to descend. And I was expecting to be complimented by the teacher, where she said something like, sit down. You don't question the Bible. Many of the seal impressions that we have that are so significant to seeing how things were depicted in those days, be it humans or gods, come from these envelopes. Well, we have arrived at Haran, the city where Abraham dwelt with his father and brother and nephew.
It's important to emphasize that these interpretations are not accepted by mainstream historians, archaeologists, or experts in Mesopotamian mythology. They are often criticized for a lack of rigorous scholarship, misinterpretations of ancient texts, and a reliance on unsupported speculations. Here is Dr. Joshua Bowen, an Assyriologist who has done several videos and wrote books on this subject. I have links to these full videos and his book, How to Read Sumerian, which is one of my go-tos in my library.
You know, you have to keep this in mind when you, number one, when you look at Sumerian and what people are saying about Sumerian. But you know, in his book, he does this all the time. You know what? It's sort of the equivalent to. You know,
Thank you, Doodle.
It's far worse, but it's roughly equivalent to if you were to say butterfly, right? Somebody 1,000 years from now will see the word butterfly and they would say, this is a type of a stick that was kind of slippery and went on bread that was able to soar through the air. Butterfly. Nope. No, it's not.
As it turns out.
So he describes the gods as ancient astronauts. Then he discusses at length the Mu. So what is the Mu? He argues that it's a fiery rocket. And then finally, he uses when humans flew to the heavens as an example. So, or several examples of this to make his point. So the gods as ancient astronauts. So could the gods fly? Well, he discusses the god Zu. Now, those of you that have been with us for a while, you're probably not familiar with the god Zu.
I was also not familiar with the god Zu, and I've been working on this for a while. So,
but you know Ninurta, and you know that he engages with someone called Anzu. Later, he's depicted as a bird, so he's definitely talking about Anzu. He uses what he says is a mu, an mu, to fly around. So even though he's depicted as a bird, it's almost like a metaphor. Ninurta kills him with tilum, which are arrows. And these arrows, quote unquote, were actually missiles that were fired into Zu's mu. Continuing on, he uses this statue from Mari he says is the goddess Inanna.
there is absolutely nothing about this statue that suggests it's the goddess Inanna. It is a goddess.
He addresses the word for God, Dinger. He says that it's broken up into two parts. Din, which means righteous, pure, or bright. Gear, which means a sharp object.
Or also a two-stage rocket with fins.
I mean, so here's what I would say. Sitchin consistently misunderstood, mistranslated, or at worst, intentionally misrepresented the Sumerian and Akkadian linguistic data. It seems likely that he did not know Sumerian or Akkadian. If he did, he made such basic and egregious errors with the language that one can only conclude that he was intentionally misleading his audience. In either case, Sitchin brilliantly used the Mesopotamian literary corpus and the lack of widespread familiarity with the text and the languages to sell his books. Whether he did that intentionally or not, it's I can't get in his head.
While these theories of fallen aliens might be shocking and compelling to some, they should be taken with a large grain of skepticism. Anything's possible, but as it stands, there is no empirical evidence or scholarly consensus that supports these claims. They are generally viewed as fringe theories outside of accepted academic discourse. These ancient alien theories, as it must be stressed, they involve misinterpretations and mistranslations of the text.
So we are going to
Yes, Zelda, it is considered to be extraterrestrial as a possibility too. So for people that anybody that may not understand, absolutely. Pearl says you should look into Mount Kalish or Kalash. They say you age after climbing the mountain or while. I've heard that story before, Pearl. It's pretty wild too. I know one thing. I'm old enough. I ain't going climbing there. I promise. What is the name of a movie Extraterrestrial? I'm not sure what you mean, Zelda.
look at chapter 5, which is called The Nephilim, People of the Fiery Rockets. Josh, who or what are the Nephilim?
Oh, you're saying that is the name of a movie, Extraterrestrial. I got you. Thank you, Zelda.
Yeah.
Ancient Hebrew.
So the Nephilim are, they appear in two different places. Genesis chapter 6 is the earliest as far as when it appears in the biblical text as it stands today. And then in Numbers 13. And the Numbers one is probably the one to talk about first. So in the book of Numbers, when the spies go into the land and they spy it out before they go in, and 10 of them come back and they report there are giants in the land, Nephilim. And so the Septuagint, that's where it appears. Then it appears in Genesis chapter 6 before the flood story, right, as sort of the backdrop to the reason for the flood story. And so the Nephilim there are parenthetically, they're in a parenthetical phrase in the Hebrew. Sons of God come into the daughters of men, they take wives. They have offspring of these Giborim, these great men, these mighty men, and they call them Anshe Hashem, which is literally the men of the name. So it's pretty common enough, at least in the Hebrew text and in the ancient Near East, wider ancient Near East, that this idea of the name would be like of prestige, of being known throughout perpetuity. I'm emphasizing this because it comes up in the book. He wants name to mean something very specific. But anyhow.
So the chapter opens, as it does, with a quote from a Mesopotamian literary composition called Inanna and Shukaletuda, in which the goddess Inanna is kind of soaring over the earth and looking at all of the domain, and then she lands in an orchard, goes to sleep, and is promptly raped by someone. He gets his comeuppance later on. But the point of this is that the language, Sitchin says, shows very clearly that the goddess Inanna is flying. And because she doesn't have wings, she must be flying in a spaceship. Now,
can we just pause and let that sink in? Let's give it a moment of silence that is due such a statement. The goddess, the divine being in the story, goddess, sorry, just want to knock that, is flying in the text. And since she doesn't have wings, she must be flying in a rocket ship.
Yep. Facts. Less.
My Anunnaki brain does not compute.
Zecharia Sitchin refers to various cuneiform texts to support his idea of the planet Nibiru. One key text he often cites is the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation epic. Sitchin suggests that references to a celestial body called Marduk, named after the Babylonian deity, is actually referring to Nibiru. In the Enuma Elish, Marduk is portrayed as a wandering planet that collides and splits Tiamat, a primordial goddess associated with the sea, in two. Sitchin interprets Tiamat as a pre-existing planet located between Mars and Jupiter. He suggests that one half of Tiamat became the asteroid belt and the other was struck by another of Marduk's moons and was pushed into a new orbit, becoming Earth.
So let's move on to the May. Now, we've done a video on the May before. This is a very difficult, complicated word, and Sitchin says that the May is the spacesuit that we've already discussed that Inanna probably wasn't wearing when she went to the underworld. So Sitchin says, Inanna, he quotes Inanna, he doesn't give a text, which is a pain in the ass.
It really is. The lack of citation in this book makes you want to weep and then die.
Sitchin's interpretation of the Enuma Elish and his association of Marduk with Nibiru is heavily criticized by scholars. Mainstream interpretation reads the Enuma Elish as mythology and not literal astronomical account, more connected with nature of the world rather than the nature of.
Thank you, Brian, so much for gifting that membership. I can't truly see who got it at this moment, but whoever it is, welcome to the sauce. Congratulations, and it's great to have you here. Thank you so much, Brian. It was so gracious, so very generous of you, my friend. We love you. Welcome, Sammy. Thank you for joining us again. Welcome, Chickbait. Good to see you as well. Cassie, are you able to see who received the membership by chance or no? Thank you again, Brian, so very much. Whoever it is, congratulations and welcome to the sauce. Sammy Reeser, congrats, Sammy. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the sauce. Much appreciated. Thank you again, Brian.
Of space. Furthermore, Sitchin's identification of Nibiru with Marduk is not supported in any cuneiform text that we
Thank you, Cassie and
The
Tom.
term Nibiru in the extant text is used to denote a point of crossing, and sometimes is associated with certain celestial bodies, depending on their position in the sky. But it's never described as the home of the Anunnaki, nor as an additional planet in our solar system with an unusual orbit, as Sitchin claims.
So the problem with this, apart from taking a myth as literal fact and believing that the gods were actually aliens that genuinely came to Earth and genetically engineered all humanity, the problem with this is that the goddess Inanna is very often conceptualized as the planet Venus.
All the time.
It's very, very common in Mesopotamia for gods to be like not just associated with celestial bodies, but they are those celestial bodies. It's why judgments would take place outside before Utu or Shamash, the sun god, because he was the god of judgment, because as the sun, the literal sun, he saw everything that happened. So he would know if you were telling the truth and he would know if you were lying. So Inanna is not flying over the Earth in a rocket ship. She is the Venus star.
Where the Venus star
She's
at?
the planet Venus.
Oh, it up there.
Yeah, that's Inanna.
Sitchin's theories and translations of Sumerian texts have drawn considerable criticism from professional scholars in the field. Some of the key points of contention from Dr. Bowen and others, who are proficient in the Sumerian language, have pointed out numerous mistakes in his translations. They argue that Sitchin appears to lack solid understanding of Sumerian grammar, syntax, and vocabulary, which leads him to create translations that deviate significantly from the accepted readings of these texts.
So he says, the text quoted Enlil as saying to her, this is page 136, speech. The text quoted Enlil as saying to her, you have lifted the May, you have tied the May to your hands, you have gathered the May, you have attached the May to your breast. O queen of all the May, O radiant light, who with her hand grasps the seven May. So
Why we translate singular for all of those is bizarre. Particularly in light of the last one, the 7 May. These are okay. Anyway, sorry.
it's like moose.
Moose.
Okay, so there is that part of this, you guys. I have a few different things to show you. Those two, those two kill me. But anyway, moving on. Oh, awesome stuff. First and foremost, I would like to put this up here. For those of you that don't remember this morning, Doodle had sent over while we were live an alert that was put out on a missing person. Emily Bishop, I do believe, has been found safe and sound. That is awesome. Well, she's been found. That's my understanding. So thank you, Doodle, for that update. We don't have to worry about this one now, guys. That's awesome. Great news. Wonderful to hear. I'm so happy to hear that. Great stuff. That is amazing. All right. So, moving on, guys. I have some other stuff here that Molly put together for us. A theory that has gone out. I have a question for all of you mothers out there. Because I know I've always questioned this, okay? How many mothers out here have had children and have had to go get the injections because they have Rh negative blood? I always wondered as an adult, my ex-wife has, the creature, as I call her. That's what I call my ex-wife, the creature. Good reason. And this may explain why. Rh negative blood, folks. Where does it come from? Because I'm type O negative, okay? And we know A, B, and all that stuff. But guys, I wonder. And I used to make jokes about the creature because she is the creature, my ex-wife. Is Rh negative blood from another planet? Is it another type of a living entity, or what is it, guys? I always wondered that. A lot of people believe, and I'm gonna show you something on that. Miss Molly put together for us in regards to the Annunaki stuff. This is kind of an interesting theory and thought as well, guys, that goes along with this. So here we go.
Our blood holds many secrets.
Think about it.
It whispers tales of our ancestry and hints at the mysteries of our existence. One of these enduring enigmas is the Rh factor, a protein found on the surface of red blood cells. While the vast majority of humans possess this protein, designated as Rh positive, a small percentage do not. These individuals, known as Rh negative, pose a fascinating puzzle to geneticists and anthropologists alike. The very existence of Rh negative blood challenges conventional evolutionary models. Where did this unique blood type originate? Why is it absent in other primates? And why are there such pronounced health challenges associated with it, particularly during pregnancy? The answers, some believe, may lie beyond the confines of our terrestrial origins. Could this missing protein be a subtle marker of a celestial intervention, a genetic inheritance from beings not of this world? To explore this possibility, we must turn our gaze to ancient Sumerian civilization and their compelling accounts of the Anunnaki, beings from the heavens who played a pivotal role in shaping human destiny. The ancient Sumerians, credited with developing the world's first civilization, left behind a wealth of knowledge etched into clay tablets. These cuneiform inscriptions recount epic tales of gods and goddesses, creation myths, and accounts of advanced knowledge in astronomy and mathematics. Among these enigmatic texts are descriptions of the Anunnaki, beings who descended from the heavens to earth. The Anunnaki, according to Sumerian accounts, possessed extraordinary powers and wisdom. They engaged in genetic manipulation, creating humankind to serve as their workforce. Could these beings, often depicted in humanoid form but with advanced capabilities, be the extraterrestrial architects of our species? And could their genetic handiwork be the source of the enigmatic Rh negative bloodline? The hypothesis linking Rh negative blood to extraterrestrial intervention is a compelling one. Proponents argue that the sudden appearance of this blood type, its absence in other primates, and the unique challenges it presents all point to an origin outside the conventional evolutionary tree. Could the Anunnaki, with their advanced knowledge of genetics, have introduced this bloodline into the human gene pool? Perhaps they sought to imbue certain individuals with specific traits or abilities,
Or perhaps Rh-negative blood is simply a byproduct of their genetic manipulation, a remnant of their celestial touch on our species. Whatever the reason, the possibility of a connection between our blood and beings from other worlds is a tantalizing one, prompting us to re-examine our place in the grand tapestry of the cosmos. Section 4. The Mark of the Gods, Anomalies and Traits of the Rh-negative lineage. Beyond the genetic puzzle it presents, Rho-negative blood is associated with a number of curious anomalies. Rho-negative individuals often exhibit a higher than average IQ, heightened intuition and psychic sensitivity, a lower body temperature and a greater sensitivity to sunlight. These characteristics, while anecdotal, fuel speculation about a unique origin and purpose for this bloodline. The challenges faced by Rh-negative mothers during pregnancy further deepen the mystery. The incompatibility between an Rh-negative mother and an Rh-positive fetus can lead to complications, requiring medical intervention to prevent harm to the child. This biological hurdle, absent in other primates, raises questions about the evolutionary pressures that might have led to the persistence of this blood type. Section 5. Echoes of Ancient Engineering, Sumerian Texts, and Genetic Manipulation. Returning to the Sumerian texts, we find intriguing passages that describe the Anunnaki's expertise in genetic manipulation. They speak of creating humans from the clay of the earth, a process that could be interpreted as advanced genetic engineering. Could the creation of the Rh-negative bloodline be a result of their experimentation, an attempt to refine their creation or imbue them with specific traits? While mainstream science often dismisses such interpretations as misinterpretations of ancient mythology, the possibility that these texts contain kernels of truth is too intriguing to ignore. Perhaps these ancient accounts hold clues to understanding the true origins of our species and the mysteries embedded within our very DNA.
Maybe. Interesting thought. I mean, it's an interesting thought process for sure. Let's see here. Next up, I have this little one here too, Molly put together.
In the Fertile Crescent.
Excuse me. Sorry, guys. I have a bunch of different things here that goes with all this stuff tonight. There's a lot about it, though. Bear with me.
The Fertile Crescent of ancient Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, one of the world's first civilizations flourished. This civilization, the Sumerians, developed a complex pantheon of gods and goddesses whose stories, preserved on cuneiform tablets, provide invaluable insights into their worldview.
And here's my question with this too. Okay, chick, take care. If these stone tablets were found, or any of this stuff was found that had these writings on it, and that this isn't the answer to it, what is? Where did this come from? You know what I mean? So it is very interesting.
Among these deities, the Anunnaki, a group whose name translates to royal seed or offspring of An, held a prominent, if somewhat enigmatic, place. The role of the Anunnaki within ancient Mesopotamian mythology, exploring their origins, individual roles, key myths, and overall cultural significance. Anu, the supreme sky god, the ultimate source of authority and king of the gods. He represented the celestial realm and the concept of divine kingship. Ki, Antu, the earth goddess, the counterpart to An, representing the terrestrial realm and the nurturing aspect of the cosmos. Enlil, the god of wind, storms, and agriculture. Often depicted as a powerful and sometimes volatile force, he was responsible for enforcing the decrees of the Anunnaki. Enki, Ea, the god of wisdom, water, and crafts. A benevolent figure, he was often seen as a protector of humanity and a source of knowledge and innovation. Ninhursag, Ninmah, the mother goddess, associated with fertility, childbirth, and the creation of life. She played a key role in the creation myths and was often depicted as a compassionate and nurturing figure. The Anunnaki feature prominently in several important Mesopotamian myths. One of the most significant is the story of the Great Flood, a narrative that resonates across many cultures. In the Sumerian version, it was Enki who warned Ziusudra and seen as servants of the gods. The Anunnaki's presence in Mesopotamian mythology reflects the culture's deep connection to the natural world and their belief in divine intervention in human affairs. The stories of the Anunnaki serve not only as entertainment, but also as a way to explain the world around them, to understand the forces of nature, and to grapple with questions of morality and destiny. Their legacy provides a crucial window into the religious beliefs and cultural values of one of the world's oldest civilizations.
Thank you, Molly. Again, the way this all portrays is very interesting, you go. Which one did I have here? This one here, I do believe it was.
In the Fertile Crescent.
Hold on, guys. Sorry. I got confused for a minute. Now, this is where the way that this has been interpreted by different places. And one side, it's interpreted as extraterrestrial or alien mythology, or also it can be looked at as like the gods, mythological, like Zeus and Hermes and all that kind of stuff. It can be looked at in that aspect too. It's looked at both sides of it. So however you take it is how you take it, however you interpret it, in my opinion, at least. Cap says, I wonder if that had gladiator strength. And I do believe so if you look at it in that way, Cap. Yeah, my daughter has RH negative, so I just text her asking if she... It's exactly, Tandy. There you go. So this one here, guys, that Molly put together is this explains that, basically says aliens or gods per se. Very interesting. Very interesting. So here we go. It's only 9 minutes here, and I have some other stuff too to look at.
The ancient Sumerians residing in Mesopotamia, which is modern-day Iraq, thousands of years ago, left behind a wealth of intriguing myths and legends. Among these stories are tales of the Anunnaki, a group of...
And I don't know if you caught that, but what he stated is that the ancient times, this would be modern-day Iraq, where this would have taken place.
Powerful deities who played significant roles in their cosmology and worldview. The Sumerians believed these deities descended from the heavens and were responsible for shaping the world and creating humanity. The Anunnaki were often depicted as anthropomorphic figures, possessing superhuman strength, wisdom, and longevity. They were believed to rule over various aspects of the natural world and human affairs. For the Sumerians, the Anunnaki were not distant, uninvolved deities. They were active participants in the daily lives of humans, influencing their fortunes and shaping their destinies. The most famous of the Anunnaki is perhaps Enki, the god of wisdom, water, and creation. According to Sumerian mythology, Enki played a pivotal role in fashioning humans from clay and imbuing them with knowledge and skills. These ancient myths, passed down through generations, provide a glimpse into the rich and complex belief system of the Sumerians. While these stories were once understood within the context of ancient religious beliefs, the interpretation of the Anunnaki has taken a dramatic turn in modern times. This shift is largely due to the controversial work of Zecharia Sitchin, who reimagined these ancient deities as something far more extraordinary. Zecharia Sitchin, a Russian-American author and self-proclaimed scholar of ancient Sumerian texts, ignited a firestorm of controversy with his radical reinterpretations of Mesopotamian mythology.
That could be, Cap. That could be.
In his book, The 12th Planet, published in 1976, Sitchin presented a bold and unorthodox...
These are all fine, Molly. You know better. These are great.
...theory that challenged conventional understandings of human history and the origins of civilization. Sitchin's central claim was that the Anunnaki, far from being mere mythological figures, were advanced extraterrestrial beings who visited Earth thousands of years ago. He proposed that these beings originated from a planet called Nibiru, which he believed orbited our sun on a long elliptical path, returning to the inner solar system every 3,600 years. According to Sitchin, the Anunnaki, facing a dwindling atmosphere on their home planet, embarked on a mission to Earth in search of gold. This precious metal, he argued, was essential for their advanced technology and could be used to repair their planet's atmosphere. Sitchin's interpretations were based on his own unique translations of Sumerian cuneiform texts, which he claimed contained hidden knowledge about ancient astronauts and their interactions with early humans. Sitchin's theories, while captivating to many, were met with skepticism and outright rejection from the academic community. His work was widely criticized for its lack of scholarly rigor, inaccurate translations, and misinterpretations of archaeological and historical evidence. However, despite the controversy, Sitchin's books became international bestsellers, sparking widespread interest in the Anunnaki and the possibility of ancient alien intervention in human affairs. At the heart of Sitchin's theories lie his interpretations of ancient Sumerian cuneiform texts. He claimed that these writings, often dismissed as myths and legends, contain hidden truths about extraterrestrial visitors and their influence on human civilization. Sitchin pointed to specific passages and symbols within these texts as evidence for his claims, arguing that they describe advanced technology, celestial events, and the intervention of the Anunnaki in human affairs. One of the key pieces of evidence cited by Sitchin is the Sumerian creation myth, the Enuma Elish. He interpreted this epic poem as a description of a celestial collision between a hypothetical planet, Tiamat, and Nibiru, the home planet of the Anunnaki. According to Sitchin, this cataclysmic event resulted in the formation of the Earth and the asteroid belt. Furthermore, Sitchin pointed to the Sumerian King List, a document that records the reigns of ancient Sumerian rulers, some of whom are said to have lived for thousands of years. He interpreted these extraordinarily long lifespans as evidence of the Anunnaki's advanced technology and their influence on early human rulers. However, Sitchin's interpretations have been widely disputed by scholars of ancient Sumerian language and culture. Critics argue that his translations are often inaccurate, selective, and taken out of context. They contend that Sitchin's interpretations rely on a literal reading of ancient texts that were intended to be understood metaphorically and symbolically.
Welcome, Michelle. Thank you, Miss Holly. Good to see you tonight. I hope you guys are enjoying this. There's more other stuff I'm using that'll be coming afterwards. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight.
According to Sitchin's interpretations of Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki, facing an environmental crisis on their home planet of Nibiru, journeyed to Earth in search of a solution. They had discovered that gold, a precious metal abundant on Earth, could be used to repair their planet's dwindling atmosphere. To facilitate their gold mining operations, Sitchin claimed that the Anunnaki, using their advanced technology, genetically engineered a primitive worker race humans. These early humans, created in the image of the Anunnaki, were tasked with the arduous labor of extracting gold from the Earth. Sitchin suggested that this genetic manipulation is the true origin of humanity, a radical departure from the theory of evolution. Sitchin's theory of human creation as a result of extraterrestrial intervention resonated with many readers. It offered an alternative narrative to traditional religious and scientific explanations for human origins, one that tapped into the enduring fascination with the unknown and the possibility of ancient alien contact. However, this theory has been met with strong criticism from the scientific community. Critics point to the overwhelming evidence supporting the theory of evolution, which explains the development of life on Earth through natural selection and gradual genetic changes over millions of years. Sitchin's claims of genetic manipulation by the Anunnaki are not supported by any scientific evidence and contradict the fundamental principles of genetics and evolutionary biology. So let's dive into the fascinating world of ancient aliens and beyond. Many believe that the Anunnaki were not just mythical gods, but extraterrestrial beings who visited Earth thousands of years ago. This theory suggests that they played a crucial role in the development of early human civilizations, imparting knowledge and technologies that were far ahead of their time. Some even argue that the Anunnaki's influence can still be seen today in modern technology and culture. It's a captivating idea, isn't it? Whether you believe in the ancient alien theory or see the Anunnaki as purely mythological, their story continues to inspire curiosity and debate. What if just maybe there's more to our history than we ever imagined? What if the Anunnaki were indeed visitors from beyond our world, leaving behind clues for us to uncover? It's a question that keeps many of us looking to the stars, wondering about our place in the universe. Zecharia Sitchin's work has undoubtedly sparked the imagination of many, but it hasn't been without its critics. Scholars often point out that his interpretations of ancient texts are, well, quite controversial. Many experts in the field argue that Sitchin's translations and conclusions lack solid evidence and are not supported by mainstream archaeology or linguistics. They contend that his work stretches the boundaries of credible scholarship, often venturing into the realm of speculation rather than staying grounded in verifiable facts. So, why are we so fascinated by ancient mysteries like the Anunnaki? It's a good question. It seems that as humans, we have an inherent curiosity about our origins and the unknown. Ancient civilizations, with their monumental structures and enigmatic writings, offer a tantalizing glimpse into a time long past. These mysteries challenge us to think beyond the ordinary and consider possibilities that lie outside our everyday experience. They invite us to explore, to question, and to imagine what might have been. The Anunnaki theories also intersect with our modern-day quest to find extraterrestrial life. The idea that ancient gods could be visitors from another planet taps into our current scientific endeavors, like the search for habitable exoplanets and the study of astrobiology. It's fascinating, isn't it? As we look to the stars, we can't help but wonder if we are alone in the universe, or if perhaps our ancestors had encounters with beings from other worlds. This blend of ancient myth and modern science keeps the story of the Anunnaki alive and ever intriguing. In the end, the legacy of the Anunnaki is one of endless speculation and wonder. Whether you view Sitchin's theories as groundbreaking or far-fetched, there's no denying the impact they've had on popular culture and our collective imagination. The Anunnaki serve as a reminder that our quest for knowledge often leads us to unexpected places, blending history, myth, and the eternal human desire to understand our place in the cosmos. And so the story continues, inviting each new generation to explore the mysteries of the past and ponder the possibilities of the future.
Great job, Molly. Thank you for those. It does make you think, you guys. It really does. It really does. Okay. One moment here. Sorry, guys. Just one moment. And I don't know if you guys have seen any of the Anunnaki symbols or any of that kind of stuff. This next piece explains something. We've seen hieroglyphic symbols and writings in ancient Egyptian writings inside on the walls and insides of the pyramids and different areas and stuff like that. And always gone, well, that looks like this or that looks like that. But what are they? You know, what is it actually saying? What does it mean? How does that look like a spaceship if this was way back in ancient Egypt and it just now popped up now? You know, so I've always wondered that stuff. It's always been really interesting to me. So, and a lot of things have been measured by and understood by reading hieroglyphic writings. I just call everything hieroglyphics because it's not what I read and write with. So, in space, especially if it's ancient. Okay, so this next piece kind of explains a little bit of the Anunnaki symbols and how it explains what they mean and what they are. Okay, Molly, no problems with hun. So this is really interesting too. If you've seen or heard any of that stuff by watching any of this stuff, and if you ever do, you'll understand some of it.
Humanity speaks in symbols, cryptic, powerful, and persistent. Across vast stretches of time and space, the same images appear again and again, etched in stone, painted in temples, woven into myths. The winged disc, the pine cone, the serpent, symbols so strange, so specific, that their presence across multiple civilizations defies coincidence. Who were the Anunnaki? Ancient aliens? Fallen angels? Interdimensional entities? A future version of humanity sent back to shape the timeline? Or something far stranger than we can possibly imagine? Sumerian tablets describe them as gods, beings from beyond the stars who shaped civilization itself. If these myths hold truth, could the symbols they left behind tell us more? Were these symbols a language, a secret code, or a record of something we were meant to forget?
Maybe we were supposed to forget this.
The winged disc, seen above temple gates and royal thrones, carried by deities, hovering over ancient kings.
Now that symbol, look at that symbol, you guys. Hold on, I'm going to get to that. I want you to look at this symbol here for a minute. I want somebody to tell me where they've seen that or a version of that at before. I'll give you guys a few minutes for some of you. Look at that and tell me where you've seen either that or a version of something that looks like that throughout your life. Interesting, Doc. Don't dox me. Does it look like something that the Nazis used at one point in time, maybe? Anybody? Stop it, dumb boy. By the way, this footage is provided via Jason Abadi. There's a link to his channel if you guys want to go check him out. Interesting, isn't that? And this is an ancient symbol that was used, quote unquote, by the Anunnaki per se, supposedly. Right, Virginia. Very interesting, isn't it? Think about that.
The winged disc, seen above temple gates and royal thrones, carried by deities, hovering over ancient kings. Some believe it represents divine authority, the presence of celestial beings overseeing humanity. Others suggest a more technological interpretation, an emblem of flight, a craft, a chariot of the gods. The pine cone, clutched in the hand.
A chariot of the gods. A UFO? Maybe? I don't know.
Of towering figures in Mesopotamian reliefs, held aloft as if to bestow wisdom, a symbol of consciousness, spiritual awakening, the activation of the pineal gland, knowledge hidden in plain sight, the serpent coiled through the myths of every great civilization. In Sumer, linked to Enki, the god of wisdom. In Egypt, adorning the crowns of pharaohs. In Mesoamerica,
there you go,
as Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent of the sky. Across the world, the serpent embodies duality, life and death, wisdom and deception, creation and destruction. From the cradle of civilization to the forgotten ruins of the ancient world. These symbols are more than decoration. They are embedded in the foundations of ancient temples, hidden within the architecture of pyramids and ziggurats, whispering of something larger. Why do they persist? Were they remnants of a forgotten origin, a shared legacy passed between civilizations? Or do they still hold meaning, an unbroken thread connecting us to a time before recorded history? Even today, these symbols...
Welcome, CZ. Wonderful to have you here.
Are they echoes of something long buried? Or is there a reason they never faded? An influence still at work beneath the surface of our world? What are we truly looking at? A forgotten history? A warning? A message left behind for those willing to see? The Anunnaki, their symbols, their mysteries. What do they reveal? And more importantly, what are we still missing? The pine cone is an ancient and powerful symbol that has been used across civilizations for thousands of years. From Sumeria to Egypt, from the Vatican to modern architecture, this image appears repeatedly, often associated with divine knowledge, spiritual enlightenment, and even control over consciousness. But where does it come from? And what does it truly represent?
Welcome, Autumn.
The pine cone symbol predates written history. The earliest known representations appear in Mesopotamian art, where Anunnaki, some with wings, others with reptilian features, are depicted holding a pine cone in one hand and a mysterious handbag in the other. This suggests that the symbol was important in whatever knowledge or power these figures were believed to possess. In Mesopotamia, the pine cone was linked to the god Enki, the deity of wisdom.
Good call, Virginia.
Some scholars believe it symbolized the ability to control and manipulate life itself, a representation of divine knowledge that could influence human consciousness. One of the most fascinating theories about the pine cone
Exactly, Molly.
is its connection to the pineal gland in the human brain. The pineal gland is a small, pine cone-shaped organ located near the center of the brain, often called the third eye. It regulates sleep, wakefulness, and some believe it plays a key role in spiritual perception and higher states of consciousness. Ancient traditions across the world have suggested that the activation of the pineal gland leads to spiritual awakening, enhanced perception, and even direct contact with the divine. Some theorists suggest that the persistent use of the pine cone symbol in religious and esoteric traditions is a coded reference to unlocking higher consciousness.
Now, I'm going to talk for a minute here with this. I got in a group via YouTube a while back with some people. I've read a lot. I mean, I'm not as dumb as I come off to be, you guys, believe it or not. And I've read a lot into a lot of this stuff and a lot of paranormal and predated historical, extraterrestrial, all of this kind of stuff. So I was involved, and Molly was in there, I think, maybe at one point in time. And I was in a conversation with a group of people. I did some readings about higher consciousness and things like that. Okay. One of the classes my wife took in college, she was a late bloomer, went to college late after we were married and all that. Yeah, Molly was there for that. She remembers. And a lot of times this Annunaki and Anunnaki stuff is referred to in that way. And the conversation, one of the conversations we had involved life and death. And we're born, we live the lives that we live, and then we die. Okay. But when we die, do we move on to another place or heaven or hell or however we've all been raised? It just depends on what you think, feel, and know and believe. Or do we move on to And I read into this to the point where it's very understandable and quite believable. That third eye thing they're talking about, and you heard them refer to the Annunaki, Anunnaki, I never say it right, as maybe a future civilization of people that exist in the future per se at this point. And if you think about technology, the way it's advanced from the period of time that it did, and we look at some of these markings and these symbols and stuff, that was from how many years ago? And look at the things that they have that they're drawing pictures of. We've all seen like the Eye of Ra, this thing right here, which in some sense is supposed to stand for the third eye, so on and so forth. Okay. So one of the conversations related to when people passed on, did they die and go to heaven or hell, or did they move on to just a higher consciousness, a higher intelligence level than what they have, that we as human beings carry while we're here and alive? Okay. And the conversation was very interesting. And in a higher consciousness, moving on to that instead, your body and itself and everything just kind of dissolves into that higher consciousness. And it was just like, wow, you know what I mean? And as that moves forward, then you move along through whatever, guys, into this new consciousness, and they keep going. You just keep going and furthering as you keep being reborn into that new consciousness, and then dying again and doing it again. The theory behind it all was beyond interesting to me, and it made you think with some of the things we see through this. And they said back there a while ago, is this something that at this point in our existence are we supposed to forget? But you can't forget something unless you've experienced it, right? Or can you? Or did we already experience this? Is this a revolving situation? Think about that. I'm not trying to go super deep on you guys. I promise you I ain't been smoking nothing. But it's the theoretical side to this. I've read a lot of this, you guys. Like I said, the person that I had that conversation with, like I said, Molly was in there, is a professor. He's a doctorate of sorts and is a professor and writes books and things. He's a really laid back guy, but still. But think about that. What I just said, Candy just repeated it too. You can't forget something that you know nothing of. And you can't remember something that you've never experienced. Or can you? And I'm not going all crazy on you. Just take that slowly and think about that for a minute. As you're listening and what you've heard thus far in this too, the experience of understanding some of this stuff is beyond like, wow. Okay, it's a whole new level of stuff. James Ridley is the guy who woke from a 67-day coma. That is correct. I don't want you guys to think I'm going crazy here or talking crazy. There are writings and books that say all the stuff I'm saying to you in it. And if you study it enough, it gets in your head and you're like, wow, that's really wild thinking. Or if you get high, you get in there too. You know what I mean? Just saying. So anyway, I'll shut up and let this finish playing. But I just want you guys to understand where I'm coming from with what some of this stuff is relating to per se, okay?
The pine cone appears in one of the most intriguing places, the staff of Osiris, one of Egypt's most revered gods. This single detail, often overlooked, may hold a connection to spiritual enlightenment, divine power, and even the influence of the Anunnaki. But why was Osiris, the god of resurrection and the underworld, associated with the pine cone? Was this an Egyptian adaptation of a far older tradition, passed down from the gods themselves? To understand, we have to explore the history of Osiris, his possible connection to the Anunnaki, and the deeper meaning of the pine cone in Egyptian spirituality. Osiris was the first ruler of Egypt, the god of death, resurrection, and divine kingship. His story is among the oldest
Exactly, Phil. And for those of you who don't understand that, Phil says first you must define perimeters, whatever you want to, perimeters, as an individual or species. Think about that. Define perimeters as an individual or a species. Just saying. Lisa says that's a gnarly plug. Yes, it is, Lisa. Thank you for being here, dear.
And most important myths in Egyptian religion, shaping ideas about the afterlife for thousands of years. Osiris was said to be a great king who ruled over Egypt in a golden age, bringing civilization, law, and agriculture to his people. His jealous brother Set conspired against him, murdering him and scattering his body across the land. Isis, his devoted wife,
No problem.
searched tirelessly for his remains, reassembling him and bringing him back to life using powerful magic. Though Osiris was revived, he didn't return to rule Egypt. Instead, he became the king of the afterlife, presiding over the dead in the mysterious Duat. The legend of Osiris is eerily similar to ancient Mesopotamian myths surrounding the Anunnaki, particularly figures like Dumuzi, Tammuz, and Enki, both of whom had roles related to life, death, and rebirth. Dumuzi, like Osiris, was a shepherd king connected to fertility, who was killed and later resurrected. Enki was known as a god of wisdom and transformation, closely tied to knowledge, just as Osiris is depicted in Egyptian mythology. The concept of a god-king who descends, rules, is betrayed, dies, and is reborn is a theme that repeats across multiple ancient cultures. Some researchers propose that Osiris may have been a later interpretation of an original Anunnaki ruler, a figure whose story evolved over time as Mesopotamian influence spread into Egypt. If the Anunnaki truly existed as physical beings or advanced teachers from beyond, then Osiris might represent their attempt to shape civilization in Egypt, much as the Anunnaki were said to have done in Mesopotamia. If true, then the symbols surrounding Osiris, including the pine cone on his staff, could be directly inherited from older traditions connected to the Anunnaki.
The ancient Egyptians possessed an astonishing understanding of human anatomy, largely due to their meticulous mummification process and advancements in early medicine and surgery. Unlike many ancient cultures that viewed the human body with superstition, Egyptian embalmers and physicians regularly dissected and preserved organs, granting them unparalleled knowledge of the structure and function of the body. Egyptian surgeons were capable of setting broken bones, performing amputations, treating wounds with antiseptics, and even conducting brain surgery. Medical.
I've looked into that, Phil. I have. It is enlightening to say the least. I'll put it that way, and it will spin your head completely off. Absolutely, I agree.
Texts like the Edwin Smith Papyrus, dating back to around 1600 BC, describe detailed surgical procedures and knowledge of the nervous system, including...
I don't know if anybody knows what this is. What Phil says, some night we can dig into the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. I've read into this stuff. I've read into a lot of this ancient stuff, guys. My wife and I both have a very big interest in it. The Mahabharata stuff and all of this is just, I say enlightening because of what goes through your mind as you're reading through this stuff. It is really wild. And it kind of makes you question your life as you know it in some senses, in my opinion. That's how I can put it. Just saying. Fun fact, Molly says the first mention of the Anunnaki is found in a Sumerian text from roughly 2100 BC. Long time ago, folks. Long time. Are you taking off, Exotic? Oh, okay. Well, thank you for joining us, Exotic. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Thank you for that, Molly.
References to the brain, spinal cord, and various glands. Given this deep anatomical knowledge, it is highly likely that Egyptian priests and physicians were aware of the pineal gland, a tiny pine cone-shaped organ located deep within the brain. While modern science only recently connected the pineal gland to sleep cycles, melatonin production, and possibly consciousness itself, the Egyptians may have recognized its unique placement and symbolic shape, incorporating it into their spiritual and religious beliefs. The pine cone found at the top of Osiris's staff was not decorative. It was highly symbolic. Ancient Egypt was filled with symbols that carried deep meanings, and the pine cone was no exception. As the fruit of a tree, it is often linked to the idea of the tree of life, found in myths across the ancient world, including the Sumerian tree of life, which was frequently shown alongside pine cones and divine beings. Osiris was also the god of mysteries and esoteric knowledge. The cone represented his ability to guide the soul toward enlightenment and transformation. Was it a code, a marker of a deeper truth, one that has persisted throughout history, appearing in cultures, religions, and secret traditions to this day? Even now, the Vatican, Freemasonry, and secret societies continue to use the pine cone as a symbol. Among the sacred relics of the Vatican, one of the most puzzling and overlooked artifacts is an enormous bronze pine cone standing over 13 feet tall.
This is in Vatican City, folks. The Vatican City is, we all know where the Vatican, that's where the Pope lives, okay? And this is standing within Vatican City, so explain that one to me. Don't be chicken doodle. We'll protect you, dear. I promise you. Bill says predates written language, carried down from centuries, being recited orally nonstop to ensure it was remembered. Good point, Bill. Thank you. Don't be chicken doodle. We got your back. We'll protect you. I promise. So yeah, guys, this is standing within the Vatican City. That makes, but think about that. Just put that together with what we've heard so far. All right, we got you. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
In the court of the Pina. This sculpture, which seems oddly out of place among Christian iconography, has led many to speculate about its deeper meaning and origins. Why would the headquarters of the Catholic Church, an institution built on Christian doctrine, prominently display a symbol more commonly associated with ancient pagan religions, Eastern mysticism, and even Mesopotamian gods? The sculpture predates the Vatican by centuries. It was originally part of a Roman temple dedicated to Isis, the Egyptian goddess of magic. The cult of Isis was one of the most widespread mystery religions of the Roman Empire, particularly popular among...
And if you look at a lot of this stuff, okay, you'll see other things that you see in other... Look at... You see her, okay? But look what's aligned with her. See the white? And what did we see earlier? And they're all back here, okay? And I'm going to show you another piece of something else here in a minute that shows you that too.
Among the elite and secretive priesthoods. The pine cone was associated with enlightenment, resurrection, and the divine mysteries, making it a fitting symbol for Isis, who was said to possess the knowledge of life, death, and rebirth. The Roman Temple of Isis was a grand structure in the Campus Martius, one of the most important districts of ancient Rome. The bronze pine cone was originally used as a fountain, possibly in the temple's sacred courtyard or gardens, where water would have flowed from its many scales. At some point, the pine cone was moved from the Temple of Isis and repurposed for another pagan religious function. Some scholars believe it became part of the Pantheon, the great temple of all gods, where it may have been linked to the divine status of emperors. By the 4th century AD, Christianity had spread across the Roman Empire, becoming the dominant religion under Emperor Constantine the Great. Pagan temples, including the Temple of Isis, were closed or destroyed. Many ancient artifacts were repurposed or hidden, either to erase their origins or secretly preserve their deeper meanings. The site where St. Peter's Basilica, and later the Vatican, was built, was once a Roman necropolis, filled with tombs.
Now I'm going to show you guys something that, as we're seeing this now, that relates to this about the Vatican and other things that they're kind of creepy that go along with this. Okay. Let me rephrase it. It doesn't go along with it, but we're seeing this here right now. And then late in a little bit here, I'm going to show you something.
Tombs of emperors, generals, and high-ranking officials who had followed pagan traditions. At some point between the 4th and 8th centuries AD, the bronze pine cone was taken from its original location and moved to the old St. Peter's Basilica, built by Constantine. By the Middle Ages, the pine cone had been placed in a large niche near the old St. Peter's Basilica. Once a symbol of pagan enlightenment and divine knowledge, was subtly rebranded as a representation of resurrection and eternal life, concepts central to Christianity. The peacocks flanking the pine cone, originally symbols of immortality in pagan religions, were adopted into Christian iconography, representing the resurrection of Christ.
The Tree of Life is one of the most enduring and mysterious symbols in Mesopotamian art and mythology. Carved on reliefs from temples and palaces dating as far back as 2500 BC. It appears in the sacred sites of the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Assyrians, often in association with divine beings, kings, and priests. In many depictions, figures hold pine cones toward the tree, as if performing a ritual of activation, blessing, or anointing. It represents the cosmic structure of existence, the link between heaven, earth, and the underworld. It is frequently flanked by two guardian figures, often winged beings, hybrid creatures, or kings, who appear to be performing a sacred act. The tree is often shown as a symmetrical, stylized plant with interwoven branches, enclosed within a sacred space. In Sumerian and Akkadian myths, the tree stood in a sacred garden.
Well, that's interesting that you said that, Michelle, about the fallen angels thing. That's an interesting theory you have there. If you look at some of these things and go back and look at what we've seen and learned about angels and fallen angels and all that kind of thing, winged creatures and all that kind of stuff, just think about those things. You know what I mean? Very interesting, Michelle.
Similar to the Garden of Eden, suggesting a primordial source of wisdom and immortality. It is the sacred tree that grants eternal life appears in the Epic of Gilgamesh, where the hero seeks a plant of immortality, but ultimately loses it. Later, in Zoroastrianism, the concept of a world tree holding divine knowledge became a key symbol in cosmology and esoteric traditions. The tree is also topped with the winged disc, one of them.
It's all about your interpretation of it. Don't dox me. It's however you take it. There's no right or wrong to it. It's whatever you think and whatever you feel about it. And that's how I look at it. So you can't be right or wrong with it. It's just whatever you think or feel.
The most mysterious and persistent symbols found in Mesopotamian, Egyptian, Persian, and even Mesoamerican cultures, appearing atop temple gates, royal thrones, and inscriptions honoring gods and kings. It has been associated with divine rule, celestial power, and cosmic authority. But could it also represent something more tangible? Some researchers believe the winged disc is not merely symbolic, but could be a reference to an ancient flying craft. The earliest known depictions of the winged disc come from ancient Sumer and Akkad, dating back to at least 3000 BC.
And if you look at those drawings, you'll see the disc, and then there's wings connected. So that means it's a flying disc. You know what I mean? So it's interesting to think about how they were interpreted. Things were interpreted way back then as to how we interpret it at this point. Are you saying goodbye? Don't dox me? Is that what that means? Or are you just saying, are you just putting that up there? If you're saying goodbye, thank you for joining us tonight. If not, same to you. I don't know what you're saying, but thank you.
In Sumerian and Akkadian tradition, the winged disc was linked to Anu, the supreme god of the heavens, and to his sons Enlil and Enki. Some scholars believe that the winged disc was originally a representation of the Anunnaki themselves, a celestial marker of their presence on Earth. The Egyptians also prominently displayed the winged disc, calling it the winged sun.
And that marking, they used this whole thing. Years ago, they come out with a movie called, you guys remember that Raiders of the Lost Ark, the original, the Ark. The Ark was a religious based relic that had this marked all down the side of it based on what they based it off of. Okay, it's a fictional movie, okay, but it's all based off of this kind of stuff. And that ark that they put out there, which the ark supposedly is a I can't think tonight. I'm tired, but the words I'm trying to come out, you guys will get what I'm trying to say. Supposedly carried that marking, okay, which again goes way back. So think about that.
Which was associated with divine power, cosmic travel, and protection. In some Egyptian inscriptions, the winged disc is described as descending from the sky and intervening in human.
Exactly. The Hindu have recorded flight going back 4,000 to 5,000 years. And if you go back through many, many, many different, I can't think tonight, you guys. I'm going to get there, though, through different existences of many other groups of people, you'll see these same interpretations of things that they have seen that they drew, okay? Different variations through different times. It all relates to looking like the same type of things, just a little bit different for each existence of people, okay? Very crazy stuff. Very crazy stuff. Think about that. Phil says the ark was a chest or casket. Caskets were also like a gift box also. Thank you, Phil. Very good point. Virginia's talking about the Holy Grail. It falls in place with some of that stuff, Virginia, yes.
Human affairs. In one tale, it is said to emit beams of light or fire, striking down enemies, behavior strikingly similar to descriptions of aerial warfare or advanced weaponry.
Absolutely, Captain. One of the drawings, many of the drawings I've actually seen, there are drawings of on stone walls and stuff of what it looks like a man in a spacesuit. How is that there when we created that? Okay, Tomboy. So think about it, guys. I mean, that's crazy in itself. We created that within our time, but how? Or did we? You know what I mean?
The winged disc is frequently used in Masonic, theosophical, and occult imagery, often linked to esoteric knowledge and secret traditions passed down from the ancient world.
Welcome, Mark and Betty.
This is the tomb of Charles F. McGilvray, a 32nd degree Freemason, meaning he had attained one of the highest degrees within the Scottish rite of Freemasonry. The 32nd degree is known as the Sublime Prince of the Royal Secret. Many high-ranking Freemasons have historically been involved in Egyptology, occult traditions, and hidden knowledge. His choice to place the Egyptian winged sun disk on his grave is not random. It is a deliberate reference to something significant in his belief system. The Scottish rite of Freemasonry, particularly in its highest degrees, incorporates Egyptian, Hermetic, and Kabbalistic traditions.
And that's the weird thing, you guys, is we see all these things that we've seen for years upon years on our money, and they match up and relate. They look a lot like the Illuminati symbols. They look like the Freemason symbols, the stuff that has been drawn on ancient walls, that they all kind of relate and it matches up. How? Really? Tell me that's not wild. It is very, very wild to me. Just saying.
Suggesting that the winged sun disk represents knowledge preserved by the Masonic order.
The serpent is one of the most ancient and complex symbols in human history. We've already explored its role as a bringer of wisdom, deception, duality, and transformation. But where does this symbol truly originate? And more importantly, how does it tie back to the Anunnaki? While the serpent is well known in Sumerian, Egyptian, and biblical traditions, lesser-known examples suggest that this motif has been embedded in human consciousness for much longer than mainstream history acknowledges. Long before the rise of Sumer, the mysterious Ubaid culture flourished in Mesopotamia. This civilization left behind strange artifacts, statues of humanoid figures with elongated heads and reptilian features. These serpent-like beings are often depicted wearing regal clothing, seated on thrones or holding infants. Some scholars believe these Ubaid figures could represent early depictions of the Anunnaki, perhaps even a priestly class, genetically altered by or descended from them. The serpent motif appears in early Ubaid artwork, showing that snake-like beings or serpent symbolism were already deeply embedded in Mesopotamian consciousness long before the written Sumerian records. Could the serpent have been a literal memory of the Anunnaki, preserved in the mythology of their earliest followers? The Hittites, circa 1600 to 1178 BC, an Indo-European civilization in Anatolia, preserved a strange variation of the serpent motif, a double-headed snake often depicted in temple reliefs and royal inscriptions. The double-headed serpent was associated with the gods of wisdom and cosmic order, hinting at a duality present in many ancient Anunnaki-related myths, such as Enki versus Enlil. Some Hittite texts reference two celestial beings who descended and brought knowledge to humanity, mirroring the stories of twin deities found in Sumerian, Egyptian, and Mesoamerican traditions. The Indus Valley Civilization, Harappan culture, one of the world's oldest urban societies, also contains serpent imagery.
That's another question that can go right along with this, Mark and Betty. This could and may help explain that type of thing. And listen, a lot of people don't realize this either. I sent a link to Mom for Ancient History on Odyssey on YouTube. You really would enjoy it. I've watched it more than it does. Oh, thank you, Phil. Absolutely. Think about that though. But here's the thing: is those pyramids that have been seen in Egypt, they don't just exist in Egypt. They're all over the world. Okay. They have been found in different forms all over the world. They have found what they believe to be those pyramids under the ocean as well. Okay. Why? What were they needed for? What were they used for? And if you watch some of this stuff and read about some of this, they're talked about as if they could be markers to find places or to alert people or things to something. There's a big thing about these pyramids. And like I said, Egypt isn't the only place that has them. They have been found all over the world in different places, different sizes, different forms of them, but they still have the same resemblance, if you know what I'm saying. So it's interesting to think about that.
Linked to divine rulers and cosmic knowledge. Some Harappan seals depict Naga-like serpent beings, much like the Ubaid statues and the feathered serpents of Mesoamerica. The Nagas were said to be serpent deities who lived underground or in celestial realms, often acting as protectors of hidden knowledge or powerful artifacts. Indus Valley inscriptions mention divine rulers who descended from the sky, an idea that closely parallels the Anunnaki coming down to shape human
Very crazy stuff, Cap, for
Could
sure.
the serpent rulers of the Indus Valley have been another variation of the Anunnaki myth, one that evolved separately from the Sumerian version? In North America, various indigenous cultures worshipped a horned serpent, a divine being often associated with wisdom, transformation, and sky gods. The Mississippian culture.
Hang on. Hang on, it's 10:22. This does this every night. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Okay, give me just a minute. I'll be right back with it. Sorry about that.
Mounds depicted a feathered, horned serpent in their sacred art, an entity believed to possess the power of the sky and underworld alike. The Cherokee speak of Uktana, a massive winged serpent that descended from the heavens and interacted with early humans. In Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, is linked to celestial origins, lost wisdom, and the creation of humanity. The feathered, winged, and horned serpent beings in the Americas share eerily similar characteristics to Enki, the serpent-linked god of wisdom and creation in Mesopotamia. How did these serpent-based mythologies emerge on opposite sides of the world? Could they be remnants of a shared ancient story, one brought by the Anunnaki to different...
And you know what, guys? Go back and think about Native American culture. If you think about it, Native American cultures for the tribes that were here before that, here in our United States, you know, they did a lot. They dressed in certain ways that resembles a lot of what we're seeing. Okay, and certain things that they worship per se or look to resembles a lot of this in some senses too. The Native Americans. So think about that too. You know what I'm saying? After tonight, the ancient rulers are gonna F with you at all hours, not just 10:22. Probably, Phil, but that's okay. That's okay. I enjoy the history of it, so there's that. So
human civilizations?
One of the oldest legends in Chinese mythology tells of Fuxi and Nuwa, two divine serpent-bodied beings who descended from the heavens and shaped human civilization. Fuxi and Nuwa are often depicted with intertwined serpent tails, similar to the entwined serpents of the caduceus, a symbol that has been linked to the DNA helix and genetic engineering theories tied to the Anunnaki.
and where else do we see this exact same symbol? Anybody? I want to see if somebody recognizes this. Where do we see this? This same exact symbol. Where is that seen at, guys? Think about it. Come on. Nope. Where has anybody ever, has anybody that works in the medical field, have you ever seen this same symbol? There you go. All right, guys. You're on it. You're on it. You're on it. I got you guys. Okay. Just wondering if you saw this. But there is an intertwined human being. Oh, yeah. We see these same symbols on a lot of different things. This is one of the main symbols for pharmaceutical and medical things. Okay, you'll see it in different variations, but yeah, good point. You guys are good.
According to myth, Fuxi and Nuwa taught humanity writing, agriculture, and metallurgy, just as the Anunnaki were said to have done in Sumerian myth, and just as the Watchers did in the Book of Enoch. Some versions of the legend describe them as celestial beings who descended in a cosmic egg or pillar of light, which sounds eerily like the gods descending from the heavens theme present in Mesopotamian records. Could Fuxi and Nuwa be another cultural reinterpretation of the Anunnaki, their serpent form reflecting their divine origins and advanced knowledge? Even as civilizations rose and fell, the serpent symbol remained, passed down in mystery schools, priesthoods, and secret brotherhoods. The seraphim of biblical tradition, fiery, serpent-like celestial beings. The Ouroboros, the serpent eating its own tail, was a major symbol in alchemy and esoteric schools. The Djed pillar of Osiris in Egypt, often depicted with serpents intertwined, may be a cryptic representation of the spine and pineal gland activation. The serpent was never just a religious icon. It was a marker of those who held the ancient knowledge that may have originated with the Anunnaki themselves. Could it be that the Anunnaki were remembered as serpent-like beings in the earliest myths, and that their knowledge, influence, and genetic legacy continued to shape human civilization in ways we are only beginning to understand?
Symbols, carved into stone, woven into myths, passed through generations. Their meaning has shifted, been obscured, reinterpreted, yet they remain. Across cultures, across continents, across millennia. What are we truly looking at? Are they simply artistic motifs, scattered across history by coincidence? Or are they fragments of a forgotten truth, echoes of something deeper, something humanity once knew but lost? The pine cone, held by kings, gods, and secret societies. An ancient reference to awakening, knowledge, and the power hidden within the human mind. The winged disc hovering above rulers and temples. Was it a symbol of divine authority, or a memory of something that once descended from the skies? The serpent, feared and revered, coiling through the myths of every civilization. A sign of wisdom, deception, transformation. The symbol of those who shaped the fate of mankind. We see them in Sumer, in Egypt, in Mesoamerica. We see them at Göbekli Tepe, where history itself begins. And we still see them today, in sacred institutions, in corporate emblems, in the shadows of secret brotherhoods that claim to guard the ancient truths. Did these symbols originate with the Anunnaki? Are they markers of a long-lost understanding of consciousness, power, and control? Or are they messages left behind, waiting to be deciphered? Maybe the greatest question isn't where they came from, but why they never disappeared.
It's a good question. Why have they? If they did go back that far, why do we still use them today? Do you know what I mean? Again, I wanted to show this to you again. These symbols. Okay. We've seen many different variations of this, okay? But why and where does it come from initially? You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. The winged sun is a symbol associated with divinity, royalty, and power in the ancient Near East, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Anatolia, and Persia. But it's seen and has been seen throughout Germany, throughout many different times in history. Okay, it's quite interesting. So in different languages, different times, different parts of the world, you see the same version of something, but just made maybe a little different here or there. Very interesting, if you ask me. Just saying. Okay.
Huddled around a bank of monitors. Their faces, etched with anticipation and fear, glowed in the reflected light. They were the first to translate the whispers, the first to decipher the universe's cryptic message. A message that came from the deepest reaches of space, a message that spoke of our origins. The signal was faint, buried under the cosmic static. But it was there. A rhythmic pulse, a mathematical sequence betraying intelligence. The team worked tirelessly, driven by the enormity of their discovery. They knew this was not just another signal from space. This was different. This was personal. Each decoded fragment sent shivers down their spines. The patterns, the symbols, they were not random. They were eerily familiar, like something forgotten long ago, something ancient, something powerful. They were on the verge of uncovering a truth so profound, so universe-shattering, that it threatened to rewrite the very history of humankind. The truth was out there, hidden among the stars, waiting to be found. The decoded symbols told a story etched in clay tablets millennia ago, a story dismissed as myth and legend, the story of the Annunaki. The team pored over ancient Sumerian texts, their eyes widening with each passing moment. The cuneiform script, once indecipherable, now sang to them. The symbols from space aligned with the ancient tales. Stories of gods descending from heaven, of advanced knowledge gifted to humankind, of a time before history as we knew it. The myths were not myths at all. They were memories, passed down through generations, fragments of a forgotten past. A past that was about to come crashing into the present. The implications were staggering. If the Sumerian tales were true, then humanity's understanding of its place in the universe was utterly wrong. We were not alone. We had never been alone. The whisper from space was not a greeting, it was a confirmation of our true lineage. The team, bound by secrecy and the weight of their discovery, knew they had to tread carefully. The world was not ready for this knowledge, not yet. But the truth had a way of revealing itself, and the universe, it seemed, was about to turn up the volume. The government, alerted to the team's findings, reacted swiftly. The discovery was deemed a matter of national security, classified immediately. The team, sworn to silence, watched as their work vanished into the labyrinthine corridors of power. The truth was deemed too dangerous, too disruptive to be shared with the world. A campaign of disinformation was launched, a smokescreen to hide the cosmic truth. The official narrative was a carefully constructed lie. The signal, they claimed, was a natural phenomenon, a quirk of cosmic energy. The public, for the most part, accepted the explanation, but a seed of doubt had been planted. The truth, like a whispered secret, began to spread. Independent researchers, drawn to the anomaly in the data, began to ask questions. Their findings, shared through the burgeoning world of online forums and independent news, hinted at a cover-up. The whispers from space, once faint, were now amplified by the growing chorus of dissent. The government's grip on the narrative was slipping. The truth, it seemed, had other plans. The universe, as if to mock the attempts at concealment, began to speak louder. Unexplained phenomena, once dismissed as fringe theories, became impossible to ignore. Strange lights danced in the sky. Objects defied gravity. Ancient sites hummed with unexplainable energy. The world watched in awe and trepidation as the boundaries of reality seemed to blur. The team, still bound by their oaths, could only watch as the world teetered on the edge of revelation. They knew that the government's efforts were futile. The truth was out there, literally written across the sky, and it was only a matter of time before everyone could read it. The independent researchers, emboldened by the increasing frequency of the unexplained, redoubled their efforts. They followed the trail of evidence, connecting the dots between ancient texts, suppressed scientific findings, and the current events that seemed to defy logic. They were a disparate group, these truth seekers, united by a common goal to unveil the truth, no matter the cost.
Okay. One moment now. This is the other one that Molly said.
The cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers. Here in ancient Sumer, humans first tasted the fruit of knowledge. They built cities, tracked the stars, and crafted narratives that echo through time. It is in the echoes of these ancient Sumerian myths that we find ourselves face to face with gods and monsters, with love and war, with the very essence of what it means to be human. Sumerian mythology is rich with tales of powerful deities who walked the earth, shaping destiny with a whim. These gods, known as the Annunaki, were not distant ethereal beings. They were tangible, relatable figures with human-like emotions and desires. Their interactions with each other and with humanity form the backbone of Sumerian mythology. From the Epic of Gilgamesh,
That's very true.
Sumerian myths explored themes of mortality, creation, and the delicate balance between gods and men. These narratives, preserved on clay tablets, offer us a glimpse into a world where the divine and the mundane were inextricably intertwined. They provide a framework for understanding not only the Sumerian worldview, but
I did, Swamp. I did. Or Rose. I'm gonna call you Rose. I don't like calling you Swamp. But anyway, yes, I did. Just a little bit ago, the RH negative one. Absolutely.
Also the origins of many beliefs and stories that continue to resonate today. One figure stands out amidst this pantheon of gods and goddesses, Ishtar, the Queen of Heaven. Her story, a tapestry woven from threads of love, war, ambition, and despair.
Yes, welcome back, Rose.
Offers a window into the heart of Sumerian mythology and its enduring legacy. Ishtar, known to the Babylonians as Ishtar, was a goddess of many aspects. She was the embodiment of love and beauty, her presence as radiant and alluring as the morning star. Yet she was also a fierce warrior, a goddess of war and conflict, her rage as devastating as a raging storm. This duality, this potent mix of love and war, made Ishtar one of the most complex and intriguing deities in the Sumerian pantheon. As the Queen of Heaven, Ishtar's influence was vast. She governed fertility and passion, her favor sought by lovers and warriors alike. Her symbols, the 8-pointed star and the lion, spoke to her power and majesty. But Ishtar was not content with her celestial domain. She craved earthly experiences, her heart stirred by the passions and struggles of mortals. Ishtar's myths are filled with tales of her romantic pursuits, her jealous rages, and her relentless ambition. She was a force of nature, both destructive and creative, her actions shaping the fate of mortals and gods alike. Her descent into the underworld, a quest to reclaim her lost love, remains one of the most enduring and poignant tales in Sumerian mythology. Ishtar's story is a reminder that even the gods were not immune to the complexities of desire, loss, and the human condition. She embodies the duality that resides within us all, the capacity for both great love and terrible destruction. Her legacy, passed down through millennia, continues to captivate and intrigue, offering a glimpse into the rich tapestry of Sumerian belief and the enduring power of myth. To understand Ishtar fully, one must delve into the annals of the Anunnaki, the powerful deities who ruled over the Sumerian cosmos. Those who from heaven to earth came, as their name translates, were believed to have descended from the heavens to shape the world and guide humanity's destiny. Among the Anunnaki, Ishtar held a prominent position. She was the daughter of Anu, the god of the sky, and the sister of Ereshkigal, the queen of the underworld. This lineage connected her to the very fabric of the Sumerian cosmos, her influence stretching from the highest heavens to the deepest depths of the underworld. The Anunnaki were not merely distant overlords, they interacted with humanity, their actions shaping the course of history. Ishtar in particular played a pivotal role in human affairs. She bestowed kingship upon chosen rulers, her favor a sign of divine legitimacy. The myths surrounding Ishtar and the Anunnaki reveal a complex relationship between the divine and the mortal. The gods, while possessing immense power, were not infallible. They experienced jealousy, love, anger, and sorrow, their actions often driven by emotions that mirrored those of the humans they ruled. Ishtar's own tumultuous life, filled with both triumph and tragedy, reflects this delicate balance between the divine and the human.
All right. Thank you, Molly. Okay, now let me show you something else here. Now, you're going to say, Dago, this is no relation. How does this relate? Then think about it when I show you. Hold on. Now, this is a little more comedic looking, cartoonish, things like that, but it puts the basics out there in a nutshell, okay? Wait a minute, let me make sure this is the right one because I have a couple of these. Okay, hold on a minute here. Now, like I said, hey, Hummingbird, good to see you. Like I said, think about what I'm going to show you relates to what everything else that we just watched and why I'd be showing you this. And again, please bear with me. This is more cartoony, comical as compared to what we've looked at just recently.
There's been a big breakthrough in the truth behind Jesus Christ's existence. Today I'll be talking about holy relics, secret archives, and all kinds of crazy things the Vatican is hiding, including aliens. Secrets of the Vatican, Part 1. Deep underneath the Vatican is a secret archive of files going back 1,200 years. Inside this rare collection of documents are said to be certain texts related to unexplained phenomena, including alien encounters. The Vatican has had such a tough time with their secret archive that they changed.
I mean, he probably is, Mark and Betty. He's my co-host tonight, so just saying.
Its name. It used to be called the Vatican Secret Archive, but they changed it to the Vatican Apostolic Archive, all in an attempt to stop people from spreading conspiracy theories about the secrets they might be keeping. It's a little too late for that. The world already knows that the archive is a repository for thousands upon thousands of records, many of which the public are not privy to, even though the Vatican says they've opened the archives to the public. Wait a minute, the archives are open? They are indeed. When Pope Francis...
Yes, the Vatican supposedly opened the archives to the public, but what they did was opened what they wanted to open of the archives to the public. Think about that, okay?
Renamed the archives half a decade ago, he also made its documents officially no longer secret. You can comb through the files yourself, reading the trial manuscripts of Galileo in 1633. Or you can read the papal bull from 1493 written by Pope Alexander VI, who gave Spain more control over the New World and effectively divorced them from Portugal. Then there's the plea from Mary, Queen of Scots, just before her execution, begging Pope Sixtus V to spare her life. When the Pope didn't intervene, Mary was executed in 1587. If you get a chance, read the letter. It is
not everything that you're seeing they're gonna show is related to this, but some of this stuff is. That's why I'm showing it, but it's all thrown together.
Is chilling. Or how about the letter written by Henry VIII asking the Pope's permission for him to get an annulment from his wife Catherine of Aragon, so that he could marry a different woman, Anne Boleyn? Henry's letter was signed by 85 clergy.
Hang on, I have like 5 of these links. I might have clicked the wrong one. Give me a second here. 1 second. Okay, hold on. Okay, guys, sorry. I have so much of this stuff and different variations. I have like not 5, but like 25 different links that are all the same within this. So anyway, we'll get into it here. You'll be able to pick and pull the things we're talking about.
Would allow you to look back into the past. Here we're talking about actually being able to view epic historical events like the birth of Christ, the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, the attack on Pearl Harbor, and the public unveiling of the Cadillac Cimarron at the Detroit Auto Show of 1982. All right then, in a word, it would be incredible. Well, according to the now deceased Roman Catholic priest Francois Brune, such a contraption may actually exist, and big shocker, it could be hidden inside the walls of the Vatican in Rome. The chronovisor is a time viewer that, according to legend, was built by an Italian priest and tinkerer named Pellegrino Annetti, working alongside nearly a dozen world-class scientists. The chronovisor and Annetti himself are the subjects of heated debate, but it's generally accepted that the latter did exist, though the verdict is still out on whether the former does. The story goes back more than half a century, when Francois Brune, Annetti, Enrico Fermi, and leading Nazi rocket scientist Werner von Braun supposedly met clandestinely to work on a groundbreaking project with unimaginable scientific and religious ramifications. Then, after years of development, the chronovisor was born. So ridiculous. Annetti claimed that the device was housed in a large cabinet and used cathode ray tubes, antennas, levers, and buttons which could be manipulated to select the time and location that the user wanted to view. And in addition, the chronovisor was capable of tracking the lives of specific individuals from beginning to end. At one point, a blueprint of the device even surfaced, though it didn't look like anything a 6th grader couldn't have drawn. Technical jargon aside, the machine apparently worked by receiving, processing, and de-scrambling residual electromagnetic energy left behind from historical events. Sounds real. Luckily, this energy also contained sound wave fragments which allowed users to not only see into the past, but to hear it as well. Annetti claims to have personally witnessed numerous events from long ago, most poignant of which was the crucifixion of Christ, which he apparently photographed so that he wouldn't forget it later in life. Yeah, because that's something you'd forget. You literally saw Jesus being crucified. Better take a photo. I don't want to forget this one. In 1972, the image was published in an Italian magazine, but though it looked remarkably authentic, it was later proven to be a mirror image of an intricate wood carving made by sculptor Lorenzo Collo Valera, which casts significant doubt on not only Annetti's character, but also the story as a whole, because apparently there wasn't significant doubt existing already. This is ridiculous. In fact, it was just one of many key points of Annetti's tale that had been debunked, and in addition, an anonymous family member later claims that while on his deathbed, he admitted to his part in the hoax. According to his source, Annetti deeply regretted his actions, though it only intended to draw non-believers to Christ and strengthen the faith of those who already believed. Despite unsubstantiated claims of deathbed confessions, however, up until the time of his death in 1994, Annetti was adamant that the device was real.
I think so, bro. They truly, I think it's because they enjoy the food. Because I know I enjoy my food, our food, so that could be what it is, truly.
And that it had been stashed away inside the Vatican to prevent it from falling into the hands of those intent on using it for nefarious purposes.
No, in all jokes aside, yeah, it's very true. There are a lot of documented UAPs within that region, and what good answer is there? Truly. I made a joke with the food thing, but think about it. You know, why? It's a good question. It's a very good question, Rose. Just saying.
And personal gain. Ironically, years before his death, the Vatican issued a decree stating that anyone who used such a device, if one existed, would be swiftly excommunicated. Good news, it doesn't exist, so you don't have to worry about that. Some diehard Catholics believe that the chronovisor is real and that it has been hijacked by a tyrannical Satan.
Exactly,
and those people are crazy. Either way, Brune, Annetti, von Braun, and Fermi is an invocation. So, for those unfamiliar with the term, grimoires are books containing magic spells and invocation. So, in layman's terms, the Grand Grimoire is the granddaddy of them all. Shrouded in myth and lore, the Grand Grimoire, also commonly referred to as Le Dragon Rouge or the Red Dragon, is a black also commonly referred to as the Miracle of the Sun. The Miracle of Fatima was a series of religious apparitions that were supposedly viewed by 3 children near Fatima, Portugal, between May and October of 1917. In each vision, the children, aged 7 to 10 years old, claimed that they saw the Virgin Mary in the sky and that she revealed 3 secrets about momentous events that would take place in the future. Though by now all 3 have technically been disclosed, some devout Catholics, conspiracy theorists, and all-around naysayers are convinced that the Vatican may not be telling the truth about the 3rd and final secret. The first 2 were officially revealed in the 1940s through the writings of the last surviving child, since the others died within a few years of the event. But for some reason, the 3rd secret was sealed in an envelope and sent to the Vatican, where it sat for more than half a century. The first secret the children saw was the bowels of hell, in which hordes of poor souls burned in seas of fire while unspeakably hideous demons tormented them mercilessly. In the second, they were told that the First World War would soon end, which it did.
Welcome back, Paul.
1918. Who could have possibly predicted that? The disclosure of the first 2 secrets caused rumors to swirl about the third, and everyone wondered why the Catholic Church was keeping it under such tight wraps. Some speculated that it foretold the fall of communism, while others thought it might pinpoint the end of the world due to a cataclysmic event like global thermonuclear war. In fact, the clamor for the 3rd secret became so frenzied that it resulted in a number of long-term hunger strikes and the hijacking of at least 1 aircraft, neither of which prompted the Vatican to spill the proverbial beans. Then, in 2000, with nary a word of warning, the Church disclosed that the 3rd secret of Fatima had been the foretelling of the assassination attempt made on Pope John Paul II in 1981. Guys, you gotta release the secrets before they happen, otherwise we can't believe you. As John Paul drove through a crowd in St. Peter's Square on May the 13th of that year, the anniversary of one of the 1917 apparitions, he was shot 4 times by Turkish assassin Mehmet Ali Agca. The Pope suffered severe blood loss but survived, and Agca was immediately apprehended. At trial, the gunman claimed that the botched assassination was connected to the 3rd secret of Fatima. Though he was sentenced by an Italian court to life in prison, Agca was later befriended by the very Pope that he'd tried to kill. Up until the time of his death, John Paul II maintained that his life had been spared by the visions in Fatima, but it was later revealed that he'd known about the 3rd secret since 1978, 2 years before the attempt on his life. If so, one wonders why security wasn't beefed up or the event wasn't cancelled altogether. Could it be? Could it possibly be? Because it's not real. Despite the most recent revelation, however, some claim that it wasn't the real secret and that the truth may still be hidden somewhere inside the Vatican. As to why the secret wasn't revealed until 2000, in 1996, a Vatican spokesperson stated that there was nothing particularly worrisome in the message, and that releasing it before the event it predicted would have caused undue consternation among the masses and led to confusing religious prophecy. Though it's a fascinating
I'm not
story,
surprised, Molly.
Traditionalists suspect that the real third secret had nothing to do with the attempted assassination of the Pope, but that it may have foretold a coming rift inside the Church, namely the heretical reforms instituted by the Second Vatican Council that are seen by many as an unforgivable departure from tradition. Translated, written, and revised numerous times by Hungarian linguist, philosopher, and health enthusiast Edmund Bodo-Székely between the 1930s and 70s, the Essene Gospel of Peace is an obscure but enigmatic work that may have been based on ancient manuscripts hidden inside the Vatican. According to Székely, the contents of his book came largely from historical Hebrew and Aramaic texts, which he purportedly discovered in the Vatican archives and the Benedictine monastery in Monte Cassino, Italy, in the 1920s. Claiming that the artifacts to which he's referring don't officially exist according to the Vatican, many scholars and historians consider his work an outright hoax. And perhaps even more damning, the Vatican claims that there's no record of Székely ever visiting the archives, and it goes without saying that the Vatican would never ever lie about something like that. That said, short of breaking into the Vatican, which is protected by pike-wielding Swiss beefeaters, there's no way to verify either Székely's or the Church's claims, and since Monte Cassino and the historical items contained therein were destroyed during World War II, that line of inquiry is a dead end as well. How convenient. What's odd about Székely's case is that unlike other possibly earth-shattering items secreted away in the Vatican's vaults that deal with weighty issues like assassinations and end-of-days scenarios, the Essene Gospel of Peace's message is centered around the relatively mundane topics of health and diet. More to the point, Székely claims that the Essenes, a Jewish sect active before and during Jesus' lifetime, were vegetarians, and that Jesus was too. Whether true or not, it might not seem like a particularly controversial assertion, except that it is. In fact, both Székely and his work were, and still are, mercilessly ridiculed and criticized by detractors of nearly all stripes. But the questions remain, why did expounding the virtues of a healthy lifestyle create such a furor? And does the Vatican have motive to obscure the fact that Jesus was a vegetarian if he really was one? Székely supported his case by pointing out that some of what he discovered was similar to passages in the Old and New Testaments, and later to those found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were discovered in 1947, more than a decade after his work was first published. The scrolls provided a first-hand look into ancient Jewish practices and beliefs, which had only been vaguely alluded to in the Bible. Székely's critics found it suspicious that he updated and republished his work yet again shortly after the scrolls were discovered, which they saw as proof that he was trying to use their popularity to sell more books. But since he had already revised his book numerous times before, it wasn't exactly a smoking gun, and Székely readily admitted that the scrolls supported his work and that continually updating content was vital to spreading his word, which, after all, was only aimed at keeping people open-minded and happy and healthy. Undeterred, Székely continued refining his work and began spending more and more time traveling abroad, expounding the benefits of healthy living and trying to convince his critics that he wasn't just peddling some new age bunk to get rich. Székely lived in England shortly before moving to America and marrying a prominent New York vegetarian. In 1940, the couple opened a health retreat in Baja California, Mexico, which they named Rancho La Puerta, where they set out exploring new fields and testing their ideas. Decades before they became fads, the Székelys grew organic produce, swore off packaged and processed foods chock full of refined sugar, cholesterol, additives, and preservatives, and invited guests from all over the world interested in pursuing both physical and emotional health, which they believed were inextricably linked. Huckster or not, in the face of a global health and obesity crisis caused largely by unhealthy food and inactivity, Székely's teachings are as relevant today as they were in the mid-20th century. Rancho La Puerta continues to operate as a health spa and eco-resort, and it's still owned by the Székely family. Spread over 3,000 acres of beautiful desert landscape just over the Mexican border southeast of San Diego, its amenities include numerous gardens, nearly 90 well-appointed rooms, a cathedral, and an impressive art collection. And no, it is not cheap. So I really hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.
He talks too fast. So anyway, the whole point is there's so many of these things that are supposedly hidden within the Vatican itself that relate back. He didn't touch on a lot of that stuff, but modernized versions of some of these things, and written secrets and things that relate to some of that stuff we were talking about with the Anunnaki stuff. And it's really wild to me. It really, really, really is wild to me. Hold on here. I think I have another one that actually, this one is unrelated, but it's actually really interesting too. Hold on here. It's some slight relation, but hold on.
Tensnet, and in the video today, the 10 diabolical things supposedly hidden away in the Vatican. Founded in 1611 by Pope Paul V, the Vatican's secret archives are an ultra-secure repository for the Church's oldest, most valuable documents. Access has always been limited, and even today, only Vatican officials and qualified academics are allowed inside, and only then with a letter of recommendation. And since browsing isn't permitted, they also...
See, I did it again. I have so many of these. 1 minute. I'll pull up the... Hold on. It's in my... It's not coming up through here. Maybe I can pull it up through here. Here we go. Sorry, guys. Okay. This is the one.
Hi.
And this is you'll see what it is here. 1 second.
Trina, my friend David is actually going to be helping me out today, so we can give you a little bit more variety. Everyone say hi.
Number 10. The Horus.
Oh, okay, Phil. Thank you.
Historians and scholars have noted that the story of Jesus appears to be a retelling of an earlier story told in Egypt. In the ancient religion of the Egyptians, their god was conceived by a virgin named Mary, who had the support of her husband, the child's stepfather, Seb. This Messiah was born inside of a cave. His birth was announced by an angel, and it was heralded by a star and even attended by a couple of important shepherds. His life between 12 and 30 is a complete mystery, as the ancient Egyptian texts don't say much about it. Once he turned 30, things got exciting. He was baptized in a river. The person who baptized him wound up losing their head. He had 12 disciples. He performed miracles, exorcised a couple of demons, raised a person from the dead, and took a stroll across the water. If you think I'm talking about Jesus, I'm not. I could, however, continue with the similarities. The Egyptian god Horus is the one I'm talking about, and he was called the Holy Child, the ever-becoming Son, the Truth, the Light, and the Way. He was Word made flesh, the Father, and the Lamb of God. He was also crucified, buried for 3 days, and then resurrected. And his story was told thousands of years before the story of Jesus Christ. At least, this is what the conspiracy theorists say. The truth is a little more obscure. Certain texts say Horus only actually had 4 disciples, that he wasn't technically baptized, and that he was never born in a cave. He did perform miracles, though. The hard truth is that Jesus and Horus do have a lot of similarities, but the Vatican has done their best through the centuries to make sure people don't know about them. Number 9. The Gregorian Egyptian Museum. In the year 1839, Pope Gregory XVI founded the Gregorian Egyptian Museum. The museum consists of 9 rooms filled to the brim with ancient Egyptian artifacts, most of which had once been held in the private apartment of Pope Pius IV, where he'd lived in the Belvedere Palace. As you may already know, Romans were absolute fiends when it came to Egyptian anything. They loved the artwork, the statues, and even the mummies. And so it should come as no surprise that the popes of Rome hoarded all the Egyptian relics that they could. In fact, the major importation of relics from Egypt began around the year 31 BC, after the Battle of Actium. The Roman Emperor Augustus defeated Mark Antony and his consort, Queen Cleopatra, and rich Romans drowned themselves in the spoils of war. These spoils would go on to fill the rooms of the Vatican with treasure. What this means is that even though the Vatican opened their collection to the public in the 19th century, the relics inside are still technically spoils of war. That means they were stolen from a foreign country by a greater power, They are still being used to make the Vatican money, far from the Egyptian people whom they technically belong to. Number 8. The Vatican Obelisk. There is an obelisk thousands of years old currently owned by the Vatican. You can't actually visit Vatican City without coming across the huge monument from ancient Egypt sitting in the center of St. Peter's Square, quite literally at the heart of Vatican City. It stands erect in front of the great dome of St. Peter's Basilica, and most people take it for granted. They don't realize that this stolen piece of Egyptian history is not only kept prisoner by the Vatican, but has also been defaced by the Christian cross affixed to its top. That part wasn't there when the Egyptians first built the thing. So then, how in the world did this piece of Egypt wind up being stolen by the Vatican, who refused to give it back? Well, they didn't consider it stealing back in the year 37 AD. The famous Roman Emperor Caligula took the obelisk from Egypt as a prize and brought it to Rome. And it wasn't the only one. There are approximately 13 obelisks standing through the city. There are more Egyptian obelisks in Rome than there are in Egypt. Unfortunately, the history of the obelisks is mostly lost. The one in Vatican City has no hieroglyphs on it, and so we don't have any information about which pharaoh ordered its construction. All we really know is that it showed up in Alexandria about 2,000 years ago, was brought to Rome, and has been standing erect in the same spot ever since. It was originally...
And it's known that there's many things that sit within Vatican City that no one is ever allowed to look at. And it begs the question, because there is some stuff, I can't seem to find the one I had before, so I'll just have to work. That is there information within Vatican City relating to the Anunnaki that they don't want the world to see? Think about that. It's interesting.
Originally put in Caligula's garden, then moved to the square, and it hasn't moved an inch since then. Number 7. The Forbidden Teachings of Jesus. The oldest known copy of a mysterious text detailing the teachings of Jesus Christ is not hiding in the Vatican. This ancient piece of Christian history was actually discovered in an Egyptian trash dump. It was found with some other scraps of paper from the 5th century, some tax receipts, and a bill of sale for a wagon and some donkeys. This is a very rare religious manuscript, written in the Greek language. It's a piece from a story that was never included in the Bible, called The First Apocalypse of James. If you've ever heard of the lost or forbidden books of the Bible, this is one of them. The story is considered apocryphal, and so not biblical canon. Instead of being one of the biblical stories written over 3,000 years ago, this one was very likely only written about 1,500 years ago. The Vatican, or the Roman Catholic Church in general, does not consider it to be any kind of religious scripture. Still, it is a hugely important religious text. According to expert Brent Landau, the manuscript was written in Greek because in the days of the Romans, Greek was universal. It was the English of 2,000 years ago. Brent also says the manuscript was probably used as a teaching device because of the way each line is separated by small dots, and because of how the syllables are all divided. It looks like a tool that would have been used by a teacher to help students learn how to read and write Greek. This would have been a major issue because at the time the Catholic Church had forbidden this text. It was banned, and you could get in serious trouble for having it in your possession. Still, this teacher was apparently defiant.
Yes, very true, Rose, and they don't want anybody to see them because it would go against everything that they have taught the world in some aspects. That's the rumor. Leave it at that. That no, they will not. There have been people killed over these things. Believe that or not. That's factual information. Yes, all the ancient Bibles and all that stuff, guys. These are things that you're not able to or allowed to look at or to see because, again, it just nope. Oh, that's why. That's awesome, Phil. Absolutely awesome. Right, Rose.
And obsessed with the story of the first apocalypse of James. The book describes the world as a prison created by an evil god, a kind of first-century version of the Matrix. Number 6. Fake mummies. There are 2 mummies being kept by the Vatican. According to the Smithsonian Institution, these mummies are fakes. Researchers say the Vatican's mummies are nothing but replicas from the 19th century, during a time when Europe was consumed by mummy mania. This rather peculiar discovery came to light when researchers were studying the collection of mummies at the Vatican.
Very good point, Molly. That's very possibly what it is.
2 feet, 0.6 meters long, and supposedly held either the remains of mummified children or ancient mummified falcons. When the researchers tested the DNA of the bones, they discovered them to be from a man and a woman who lived in the Middle Ages. In other words, these were people from no more than 500 years ago, who most likely had their bodies stolen from their graves. Then they were wrapped in fake mummy wrappings. They've been on display for centuries, and the Vatican never even realized it. Number 5. The remains of Alexander the Great. The Catholic Church, aka the leaders of the Vatican, might actually be hiding the remains of one of the most legendary men in history. There is a theory out there that says Alexander the Great's body is being kept a secret by the Vatican, and they don't want anyone else to get a hold of his bones. This theory says that after Alexander's death in 323 BC, he was buried somewhere in a tomb in Alexandria, Egypt. After his burial, a Venetian merchant stole his corpse and transferred it to Italy. The corpse was then misidentified as St. Mark the Evangelist and buried in St. Mark's Basilica. The theory is pretty wild, and there isn't much proof that it's actually true. If these people are to be believed, it's actually Alexander the Great's body at the Basilica, not St. Mark. It would explain why Alexander's tomb has never been found, even though people have been searching for it for thousands of years.
That's awesome, Phil.
The only aspect that makes sense. After Alexander died of unknown causes, he was buried in Memphis, Egypt.
Another good point, Rose.
His body was moved to Alexandria. All the most powerful leaders of the ancient world came through the centuries to pay respect at his tomb. Everybody knew where it was, and so it doesn't make sense that it could have been so easily lost. It does make a little sense if his body was stolen, brought to Italy, and then mislabeled as the
Welcome, Maki.
Number 4. The knowledge of...
Good to see you, brother.
In the 3rd century BC, the Great Library of Alexandria was supposedly the biggest repository for knowledge in the ancient world. It was a center for learning where scholars from all over the known world came to be enlightened and to study. The library supposedly opened during the reign of Ptolemy I after Alexander the Great died. The primary function of the library was to gather together every piece of knowledge on Earth to form the ultimate depot of human wisdom. Unfortunately, the library was destroyed about 2,000 years ago. We still don't really know why, only that the Library of Alexandria was completely gone by the year 400 AD. Some say it was a lack of government funds that led to its degradation. Then it was burned by the Muslims. There's another theory that says it was actually the Christians who destroyed the library because it went against their beliefs. Some believe that other pagans destroyed this famous library. Between 48 and 47 BC, Julius Caesar was entangled in a civil war. Ancient sources say he actually set fire to his own ships, and that the fire spread to shore, destroying the library and everything close to it. Here's where things get really suspicious. There actually isn't any archaeological evidence showing a huge library in Alexandria. There are some ancient remains, but they only would have been able to hold about 70,000 books. Researchers say there's no way the library had contained even a small portion of all the world's texts. Still, there are some experts who truly believe it was the Christians who destroyed the library, and that they even took some of the most important books of wisdom with them. These books are supposedly stashed in the Vatican archives. Number 3. The Pyramid in Rome. The Pyramid of Cestius is the only pyramid in Rome. It's not technically in Vatican City, but it does have a pretty similar history to the Vatican obelisk. The Romans didn't pick the pyramid up and bring it with them, but instead stole the Egyptian style. In the year 30 BC, the Roman Empire absolutely decimated Egypt. Within a couple of years, the Romans were helplessly obsessed with everything Egyptian, and in 18 BC the Pyramid of Cestius began construction. It took only a year for the Romans to build it as a burial monument for a man named Gaius Cestius Epulo. He was a praetor, meaning he was extremely important, and the tomb pyramid was way smaller than he'd wanted it to be. During this particular time in Roman history, there was a very specific law which regulated gratuitous displays of wealth. People couldn't hold feasts that were too big, they couldn't wear clothing that was too luxurious, and they couldn't build giant pyramids that overshadowed all the other buildings in the city. There was once a bigger pyramid in Rome called the Pyramid of Romulus, and it stood between the Vatican and the Mausoleum of Hadrian. However, Pope Alexander VI ordered the ancient pyramid to be demolished in the 16th century, then used its broken pieces to help build the steps of St. Peter's Basilica. Number 2. The greatest treasures. The Great Egyptian Museum at the Vatican is home to some of the most bizarre and most important artifacts in the world. For example, there's the statue of Anubis, the Egyptian god of mummification, decorated in a Roman toga. This fine marble statue comes from the 1st century AD, a time when the Romans had started...
I did, Rose. Yes, how things started to change and vary and different. Yes, I read a whole thing about that. The RH negative touches on that a bit, but not in depth, but there's way more to it that I've definitely seen and read. So very good point. Very good point. I feel like that has something to do with this. Oh yeah. No, you're absolutely close. Very, very much so.
Adopting many of the Egyptian gods. The statue is an example of how Anubis became merged with the Roman god Mercury. In one hand, he holds an Egyptian musical instrument called a sistrum, and in the other holds the caduceus of Hermes, which the god Hermes used to guide souls in both Greek and Roman mythology. This statue, although clearly Egyptian-inspired, actually came from Rome and was donated to Pope Benedict XIV in 1749. Number 1. Mummifying saints. The Vatican is harboring an extremely bizarre secret. Just like how the Romans copied the Egyptian gods 2,000 years ago, the Vatican is planning on copying Egyptian burial techniques. The top brass over at the Vatican are eagerly experimenting with mummifying their saints. This isn't a conspiracy theory, just something the Vatican would probably rather not talk about. We know that underneath the Vatican is the preserved corpse of John the 23rd, who looks just as good as he did when he died in 1963. He's entombed in a glass coffin and doesn't look a day over 100. His preservation was inspired by the ancient Egypt mummification process. Between 1975 and 2008, a team of elite Vatican embalmers preserved approximately 31 saints and important servants of God. It's all part of the Catholic belief that says if a body doesn't decay after death, the person is indisputably holy. Apparently, it doesn't matter if the incorruptibility is artificial or not. The Vatican has a poor history of trying to mummify their corpses. When Pope Pius XII died in 1958, the Vatican tried to preserve him in the same way that Jesus was preserved after he died, using a kind of mummy wrapping. They wrapped him up, but it was a huge failure. His nose fell off, and the stench was so sick that one of the guards fainted because of it. And still, all these years later, the Vatican is attempting to mummify anyone of great importance. Do you think the Vatican should still be mummifying saints? Let me know your thoughts on this.
All right, guys. There's more, but we've been here about 3.5 hours. I have other things too that I wanted to show. This last stuff didn't relate to it, but it was interesting stuff. I really appreciate you guys being here tonight. I've missed being able to do this, so we're going to be doing this every Saturday night, bringing this stuff back. It'll be something different that we get into, whether it be creepy, unexplained, paranormal, or just scary as in general. We're going to be doing it on Saturday nights, guys. So Good point, Hummingbird. Egyptian history speaks for itself, and it also relates to many other uh, relations of people per se. So I hope you guys enjoyed this stuff and do enjoy this every Saturday. Like I said, we will be doing the Creepy Unexplained and Scary Saturday Night Show. Kind of gives us a way to get away from what we do throughout the week. A little bit of a decompression situation, and it's very, I love this kind of stuff. So it's my way of getting something I want out of it too, you know. I really appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button if you did. Anybody that may have donated or tipped or whatever you call it because you enjoyed this, thank you so very much for that. God bless. You are very much appreciated. All that does go right back into what we do here to keep everything running throughout the week. So that would be awesome. I will be here tomorrow morning, guys. Hopefully in the morning. If not, maybe brunch. Either way, we'll be here tomorrow for the morning show. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night. Much love to each and every one of you. God bless. Good night. Don't forget to love yourselves and love each other, and don't change a thing. You are the beautiful people, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.